So I think it's about time that we finally like make a tier list, you know. And this is totally like a personal opinionated one, and also one that's open for like a lot of discussion. Obviously, um, I think that this is just going to be about how scary are the killers in the game, right? And we should totally put like a bunch of asterisks and like disclaimers about it too. So like theoretically, it's like, you know, how do we make the game scary from a killer perspective, right? So like, is the killer scary, yes or no? The tier, you know, the tiers will kind of put it into perspective, right? So S tier being like, you know, actually like jump scary, like it'll catch you off guard. D tier, like not at all, and it's a matter of figuring out, you know, if killers are in the, you know, C, D, even B tier area, like how do we actually make them, you know, scary? And I think that you can use both ideas of like, if something already exists now kit wise, how do you make a killer scary, right? And if there's a way to do it without necessarily using stuff that's already in the game, right, what can be added to the game to allow them to be even scarier, or give them the spook that they're missing in the game as a whole? So you know, we're gonna just kind of crack at it from left to right, and we'll figure it out from there. So in order, so starting with a trapper, you know, it's really complicated to figure out where to put him, because I've definitely come across games where trappers like use like plaything and the traps, and so like you kind of just get caught off guard just because you don't really know what the killer's doing or where they might be if you don't see them, kind of vibe. So I feel like one time it was in Cold Wind, the trapper had plaything, and traps were like not even like in one concentrated area, they were kind of like all over the place. So but I think the problem with the trapper currently is that the killer themselves isn't scary, the traps are what's scary, because you can't see the traps when they're well hidden. And so I think for that regard, I would put trapper in C tier, because like I said, like the killer themselves, you know, they're not scary, right? They kind of let the traps be the thing that kind of catch you off guard when you're being chased, because you're focusing on the chase, so you're like looking at the killer and not looking ahead of you or on the ground sometimes. So as a result, you know, the killer will just kind of watch you just fall into it, and then you freak out from the fact that you ate the trap. So I think that's usually what it boils down to. Now I feel like as a result though, you know, how do we make the trapper jump from here up to here? I think that builds that actually allow him to create obliviousness is actually what could give him that opportunity. But I think at the same time though, you got to use him in indoor maps where like the killer's already activated perks that allow him to become oblivious, you know, like plaything is a good one, but it requires a hook, right? And like you can't get the totem cleanse, which gets complicated. So you know, right now there's nothing in the game that allows him to become undetectable, I don't think. I could be wrong about that actually. I kind of want to like dabble in it and kind of just quickly check. But I think if there's not an add-on for this for him that exists already in the game, they should 110,000% add this add-on. Where long story short, like if he either has, there should be two. Let me like actually make that more apparent, because I just like thought about it out of the blue. But in a manner of speaking, if he puts down a trap, actually, you know what? I just checked. It doesn't exist. Perfect. So if he puts down a trap, he should be oblivious for like, you know how Huntress reloads the hatchet from the locker with that add-on, and then she's insensible. He should have the exact same thing. If he puts down a trap, it should be like a 30-second oblivious, or rather, he's undetectable. That's what it is. He's undetectable for 30 seconds. That would be a phenomenal add-on, because he just gets to like put it down. And in indoor rooms, you don't really get to see what he's doing or how he's thinking. So his unpredictability like skyrockets just because of that one add-on. I think it'd be really cracked. The other one that I think that would be crazy is which I'm surprised too, though it kind of makes sense, right? Where if he doesn't have any traps on his person, like equipped in his hands, he's undetectable while he has no traps down, right? I think that I'm so shocked that that's not an add-on, because you can actually, like, one thing I actually learned about Trapper is that you can tell that he has a trap with him when you look at his hand. He actually has a trap in his hand when you're like being chased by him, and when he puts it down, so like in a manner of speaking, if he has one trap and he puts it down and his hands are empty, he has no more traps. They should absolutely make it so that when he has no traps in his hands, he's completely undetectable. The same way how like it is with like Myers and Scratch Mirror, like 100%. He doesn't need anything aura based. Although if there was an add-on that doesn't exist where, you know, you can actually put down an aura, like seeking trap. So like, if you put down a trap and if there's like a person near it, you can see the aura of it. That'd be kind of cool to see them put that into perspective. But I feel like you don't want to necessarily give him some kind of aura power. You just need him to become hidden. And I think that the combination that would be very powerful is that he just puts down all of his traps, and then he's just, you know, undetectable, right? And then you use the iridescent add-on that basically resets them every 30 seconds, so that way it kind of like does its thing. I think that'd be really sick. Or you let him put them all. Well, no, because it just makes sense for him to have the one that's undetectable when he's out of them. You can use both of them on the low. Like that'd be kind of sick actually, because you know he can still pick them all up. Like if he picks it up, he obviously loses the status, but then if he just moves it, then he regains it. Like I think that'd be so sick. So I think in a nutshell, Trapper would be great in theory if he had add-ons that allow him to become undetectable while he had no traps or when he puts one down. But right now, at least, the game only allows him to be scary in a sense when he gets people put in traps because they don't see it. So I think Trapper is perfectly suitable in C tier. Wraith, now here's the thing. Playstyle wise, okay, nobody plays Wraith like this as far as I'm aware. But at the same time though, Wraith actually is able to perfectly play a very scary game in DBD. I think it's so sick. But again, I think people just like playstyle wise, they don't do it, right? So I'm going to be very directly honest with you. He's an S tier scary killer, 100%. As much as I hate him and I want to rip on him and get mad at him the entire time, I have to give him credibility where it's due. So as much as I hate the Wraith is extremely scary because simply putting it forward, the Wraith has the bell that makes no noise. Period. That add-on by itself literally is exactly what you need. So it's really easy to, you know, hide behind something, and if you know a person's is in a certain kind of area, then you literally can just hide behind something, uncloak quietly, and immediately go in for the attack, and it kind of catches people off guard very frequently. I think actually one thing also that Wraith has that's like a huge advantage over a character like Myers is the fact that he can actually use that. He can use that while he's in open, like outdoor maps. Like in outdoor maps, it's actually just as effective because he can just hide behind anything, right? Like if you see Myers, you can kind of see him like hiding in a certain area. You just know not to go to that area, right? So you kind of have a hard time figuring out how to traverse open spaces with Myers because he's never invisible, right? Wraith is completely invisible, and that's what makes him so much more deadly in that perspective. He also is able to he has aura tracking powers add-on too when he's invisible, and that makes it even worse because he can just literally he can play Scratch Mirrors, but like in speed demon mode. It's actually really crazy. You can make him undetectable if he max traps in. Oh, you talking about Trapper? Yeah. I mean that's actually pretty cool too. Or the bell that rings in the entire map. Well, you know the thing that was that the bell ringing in the entire map one is not terrible to use for that, but I feel like because you can hear him cloaking and uncloaking, it kind of like just makes you want to run somewhere, right? Like you can't really hide behind a wall and then uncloak with the purple bell, and then you know because everyone just automatically hears a bell, so the oh crap, he's nearby, right? But with the iridescent one, you don't even know where he is half the time, so I feel like it gets actually kind of chaotic. But I think also though, like the only thing that kind of takes Wraith away from the idea of being like I put him in A tier in a sense because like he like he's not like a killer that's known in like films, right? Like he's not like the one that people are like afraid of. But I think that people who play Wraith and want to make him be in like invoke that fear, they got to play that way. So I'm still gonna put him in S tier because the build already exists. and there's a lot of other ways to allow him to thrive in that kind of universe as well, but people need to just play it so that it works. So I think Wraith just perfectly fits in that spot. So okay, moving on to Hillbilly. You know what I will say, I have 100% encountered hillbillies who apparently just run this weird and crazy build where they're just invisibly sprinting. You don't hear the chainsaw, you don't hear him making sounds, you don't hear him grunting. All you see is him just sprinting out of nowhere from far range, and then he magically creeps up on you. It's actually like some of the scariest things ever, because like you kind of see him coming, but you don't hear it. But then you turn the camera and you see him coming, and you're like, oh my god, like where do I go? You kind of just sit there and deal with it in a way. And him too, he also thrives in open space areas. I think Cold Wind for him with that build is like extremely good, because he just kind of goes through the field just nonchalantly, right? And he just magically ends up at a generator. And as he gets closer to it, he can kind of scan and see who's there. And I feel like he usually ends up seeing people before they see him, because the terror radius is usually the easiest cue to figure it out. But because you can't hear it, it catches people off guard. It definitely caught me off guard several times when I faced it also. So that being said, I'm putting him in A tier because I think ideally, because he has a way to make it work and it's actually pretty good, he fits very well in the idea of being scary when it comes to the sprinting mechanic. Now, I don't necessarily need him to have a way to do it while he's not using the chainsaw. But if he had a way to do it, or be undetectable rather, without using the chainsaw, I feel like that'd be really, really good for him. That's the only real thing that he's missing though. Otherwise though, the fact that he can sprint at you, like he's the fastest one, I think, at going, you know, to a target invisibly speaking. I think that he has that power that I think nobody else in the entire game has that power. And the problem is that it works very effectively, because all of the add-ons and perk combinations that you can use to give him that undetectable, like, obliviousness combination is what allows him to thrive in that scenario. I don't really know that he'll work in, I think he doesn't work in indoor maps as easily, because he kind of needs to like get the momentum to run. But I think that's another advantage that he has over a lot of other killers, is that he just gets to do that. Now, I think what will be kind of interesting is if because there's an add-on that he has where, like, if he breaks a pallet, he kind of breaks the pallet, but he doesn't one-shot people with a chainsaw. I'd be curious to see if there wasn't a way to basically do the same thing, but instead of him breaking through the pallet, like, he can like rev the chainsaw, but it doesn't make noise, and he's undetectable. I mean, I feel like that's like a little weird, but I'd be curious to see if there's other ways that they can add to the spookiness or jump scariness of his chainsaw, pretty much. Because you can hear it from a distance, but you know, if you can't hear it, I wonder how that might play into account. Because, you know, it works when he's in the move, but not when he's not, you know, sprinting for the target. So I feel like if there was a way to like give him a non-sprinting version, I'd be curious to see how that kind of works. So, or better yet, yeah, if you make his chainsaw, if you overheat it on purpose, then I wonder if the stealth can incorporate that way. That'd be very interesting. I don't know though. I feel like it would have to depend, but I think there's also a bunch of ways you can actually make it work too. Or like if you rev the chainsaw a little bit, like, you know, for like 3 seconds or something, like continuously, and you don't like sprint, then he's undetectable for like a minute. I feel like that would be interesting. Where he kind of activates it, like kind of like how Wraith does with the bell. Like he activates the chainsaw to go undetected, and then he can go do stuff. But he can't. But if he revs the chainsaw again, then it goes away. See, I think that would be very fascinating. So if they added that, I think that'd be pretty sweet. Straight up. Okay. Nurse. Now, you know what's actually kind of crazy is, like, I don't really know where to effectively put Nurse. I'm trying to think though, because I think the thing that gives up the Nurse really quickly is that you can hear when she's preparing the dash. and I don't think that there is any way to silence that. She has the oblivious or the undetectableness if she hits the person, and that's okay. Like, she has a stealth add-on if she hits the blink, like that we know, but she doesn't have a way to always stay like, you know, incognito. Like, she doesn't have that. So if there was an add-on that hides the tell of her phasing, I feel like that is essentially something that would be really cool, because I think like Nurse can thrive in any environment, but like, you know, indoor maps are definitely her strong suit, just because, you know, in like Midwich she can be downstairs and go upstairs and then catch you off guard. But I think the problem is that you can still hear her when she's gonna phase, or at least you can hear I think there's like some indicational sound that tells you where she's coming from, because I don't even think Plaything stops the sound of her phasing when she's like doing the attack. So no matter what happens, you can always hear her coming in one. Like if it hides one aspect, it doesn't hide the other aspect. But if we add an add-on that hides that aspect, it doesn't hide the initial one. You know, so there's always like this back and forth of her being able to like hide one version of her like phasing, but not the other version. I think that's the problem that Nurse currently like runs up to. So obviously, like if she's doing it from a distance, then I feel like it's a little harder to hear her coming. But I think it's really hard though for Nurse to get the jump on people if like there's not some scenario that makes it really easy for her to like allow her to do that. So, and I think the biggest issue too is like if she phases and she like gets the fatigue sound, I don't think there's any way to hide the fatigue sound. So if she gets the hit on you in the jump scare, like that's it. You know that she's there, and like in a manner of speaking, she can't really cover much ground if she hits you on a point and then goes somewhere else and tries to like re-hide. I feel like the Nurse would have a hard time hiding again before she gets to jump on somebody else. Whereas with Wraith and, you know, and Hillbilly, like it's not too hard, since they can just cover a lot of ground very quickly. And like Nurse is not somebody who's incapable of covering a lot of ground. She obviously is like the Nurse, right? So she can just cover up ground like crazy. But I think that she's always making noise in that process, or she has some kind of caveat that really lets her, you know, not be silent like at all. And I think that's her issue. So I think with that point in mind, I'm putting her, I think, in B tier, because she's not terribly like stealthy, but she's not terribly quiet, and she can still kind of phase in and get the blink on people and like the jump on it, but it's never completely like inconspicuous. And I don't think that oblivious or blindness stuff like helps her in that case regard either. So I think that she would need some kind of add-on that allows her to basically be more incognito. I think an add-on that isn't in the game that could be added to the game is that you basically weaken her blink in a sense where she can only do it once, and the cooldown recovery, like she can fatigue from it and she recovers from it faster, but it takes her a lot longer to actually blink again. So like, you know, if she blinks, hits, right, she'll fatigue 1, 2, 3 and she's up, but she still can't blink as soon as her eyes are back up. You know, she has to like wait an additional couple of seconds or something to re-blink. That way it's not overly powerful, and even though she has one blink, like, you know, it's still the same thing, right? Zero radius if she's holding a blink is actually a good idea as well. I feel like that would also be a great add-on. That's actually a very good point too. And I don't think that's in the game either, so I think that'd be really cool. Like the combination, like I think theoretically it would be good to either have one add-on be the thing that allows her, or just allows any killer to maintain their invisibility, right, or their undetectable status, because they shouldn't be using two. I feel like that'd be a little bit too much. You know, I feel like one should just be the one that does it, and like the perks don't necessarily help for it either. But I think that even that in case scenario, you know, Nurse needing one add-on to allow her to like maintain that would be cool. But I feel like if she had two, then whatever the two add-ons are combined should make her like completely oblivious. You know what I mean? Like, it's impossible, quote unquote impossible, to actively hear her, you know, coming from anywhere. Like, if she had an add-on where you know, while she's holding a blink, she's invisible, you know, she doesn't have a terror radius, and you can't hear when she phases. If those are two separate add-ons and that was like a thing and she can only blink once, I feel like that would be like pretty good. But you don't necessarily need both of them together. One or the other is like good enough, I feel. Like, if you want to kind of add the flair to this area, but if you want to maximize it, if you had two of those add-ons together, or even if they were just both one add-on, like, that'd be fine too, honestly. Because I don't necessarily want Nurse, despite how powerful she is as a killer in the game. I don't want her to have to be handicapped with being one of the few killers that have two add-ons to like add to that, you know, that fear factor. So I think for now, Nurse is in a decently good spot, and if they gave her add-ons that allow her to come up here, then I feel like it would work for her. We already know who this man is. Everybody understands that this is like the jump scare king, master, confidant, all that stuff. This man is up here without a question of a doubt. Shape, aka Michael Myers, aka Jump Scare Myers, everything about this man with the mirror is literally the thing that makes him so unbelievably goated on the jump scare factor. There's no question about it at all, you know. And the thing that I love about it is what he also has so many ways to just use the mirror, right? And any perk he wants to use, like, he's the king of it all right now, right? Because he literally has one add-on he uses. The other one is kind of like a bonus in case of like whatever, but he gets to just use any perk he wants in the entire game, and it adds a lot of flair and variety on how he can effectively get the jump on people. And I think that's so sick. I think that every killer in the entire game, even if the ones that are S tier, they all need to like follow his example, where his one add-on is the factor of things that allow him to thrive the hardest, and have the ability to flexibly use literally any perk in the entire game. It doesn't matter. And that's the thing that I like about it too, though, because he can use like, if for example, like, you know, if he's Scratch Myers and he's running around with the mirror and like Devour, then like, bruh, you know what I mean? Like, that literally makes the game so much more scarier, because he knows where you are and you're on the verge of death, right, on a constant basis. And when he achieves that, you just know, right? So he just has to force you to like play the game slowly, because you're not safe no matter what you do or where you go. So there's no question about it. I think though, like, here's the thing, there's no downsides to him being able to not become up, you know, stay up here and then retain the top tier listing. He's always going to be up here, right, as long as the mirrors exist. But I think what I would like for them to incorporate is alternate versions of the Scratch Mirror, where he keeps that undetectable 1 status, right, from like from his Evil Within 1 version, but they just all have like different affectations besides you know, like what it can do. Like, I feel like if you get hit, I think that you know, he can inflict statuses on you. I think that would be sick. I think that you know, if he hits you and you get blind, I think that'd be great, actually. Or I mean, I don't know about Mangle and Hemorrhage, but I feel like not even Broken would be a good one. I think like if he can hit you with a knife and you get blind as an add-on along with Scratch Mirror, I think it makes it even more crazy. I feel like one theoretical add-on that just popped in my head that might be a bit overpowered but will be really sick is like if you can actually use a different like active button to like allow him to actually drain the energy, but he still can't go to Evil Within 1, but he can still drain the energy. Like, the radius that he can track people goes farther. I feel like that would be that'd be really broken. But I think that like if you do that, then he kind of sort of, I don't know, I feel like he should get slower though, because if he can see you from a farther distance where he already can, I think the mirror is like 32 like meters. That's extremely far, right? So if he was able to see you even further than 32 meters and he had the same amount of speed, then this, you know, theoretical mirror that lets him do that would be way too powerful. You know what I mean? So we gotta tone him down a bit. But I think the long story short is that I'd love for him to have different versions of the scratch mirror that let him do different things while still maintaining that evil within one form, and he can just kind of go about it. There should also be just like a perk in the game that just lets you hide your breathing as a killer. That would be so much worse, because he's kind of easy to figure out in some scenarios when you can hear him breathing. You know what I mean? Or at least like if he's hiding behind a wall and you're in this room and you're doing a generator and you don't move for like 10 seconds and he's like behind a wall, you can kind of hear him with some good hearing. So yeah, but if there was like a perk that lets him hide his breathing, then that would make it so much worse. You know what I mean? So I thoroughly actually enjoy that he is who he is. And honestly, there's nothing about this killer that would change because Myers is goated. That is all. Okay. Hag. See, now here's the thing about the Hag, okay? She's like the jump scare queen. You got the king up here and you got the queen down here. You know what I mean? She's up here because the traps thing is so good for her, because she puts him wherever she wants to, and if she does the thing that like lets her function, then you never really see it coming. You know, the only I mean she can kind of bounce around between A and S, because like she's A tier if people are running around with flashlights and they know it's a Hag and they see the trap and they get rid of the trap. But if you, for example, I hate to say this out loud, but I'm going to say it anyways. If you're in Franklin's demise with her and you force them to be unable to get rid of the trap, she's up here. And I think it's very apparent that a lot of Hags will run Franklin's to reduce the probability of them getting rid of her traps on the floor if people are bringing flashlights. So I think that even if somebody finds a chest and it has a flashlight, you don't need to bring Franklin's. You only need to bring Franklin's as the Hag if you see people like preemptively bring a flashlight to the match. Then they just know that like that's the thing. You know what I mean? So the other thing is, like, I think Hag works a lot well, like works very well against like solo players. But if there is like a party people, then I feel like it kind of depends. So it's really hard to put her. I mean, if there's like an in between, I'd put her in between. Because I think that if you know it's a Hag and you're willing to like play the field in the same way you would Myers, then you can totally put her up here, because people just won't mess with the traps. They'll be too terrified of it. But I think that because Hag's abilities strongly require her to use traps, eventually I feel like you start trying to play the objective of the killer more so than you would you know, for the sake of like the spooks. So the spooks will catch you off guard once in a while, but she really can't do anything in terms of you know, like getting rid of it. So I feel like, I think respectively we may have to put her down here. I think personally, in my opinion, she's up here, but I think the purpose for the populace, they might put her down here. So I think we'll follow the populace's rules. We'll put her down here. Now I think though, she definitely has add-ons that easily let her come back up here though. You know, the shackles is one of them, because you can easily like utilize that add-on that makes it undetectable for people to like get triggered by the traps, and it kind of actually adds to the scariness even like a little bit more. So I feel like personally, I think I'd respectfully keep her back in A tier. But I feel like, you know, build wise though, if you're gonna try and maximize and put all your perspectives into place, I feel like I'm actually gonna put her back up here, because I feel like if you're gonna play these two, because they kind of have the same problem, right? Like they both can be burned by the flashlight in some way to kind of get rid of his power and get rid of her traps. But you know, I feel like people are not genuinely trying to like bring flashlights to counter these killers unless like they, you know, it just is that killer kind of vibe. So like if you have a flashlight, yeah, Wraith can come down here too because like you're gonna do it. But I feel like it doesn't work though because like you're not really trying to. Because here's the thing: when you generally play Wraith, like you kind of you get right behind the person and uncloak so you can get the guarantee. But if you're playing it in the scary format, you're hiding behind something so you can't. So that can't happen to you. So Wraith is up here without question. I think Hag would fall in the same place. So the only problem is that Hag doesn't have a way to get the jump on people outside of the traps. So you have to use add-ons that kind of prohibit that possibility, you know, and that's why Franklin's comes into play. So I feel like, you know, if we're going to use the build and the kit and everything that comes inclusive with it, like Hag is top tier in terms of her being like a scary killer. So like I said, in my opinion, I put her down here, but I think on the popular side of things she's here because like her power is strong. Like if she had a different way to like completely like get rid of that prowess and like not have that issue, I think that also lets her be on the S tier level. Like in the same way of Trapper in a theoretical perspective, like if she had no traps on the field, then she's undetectable. That'd be a cool add-on. Or if she has all of her traps out and they can't get triggered by like a flashlight with like the shackles thing, then I feel like you know, she could also come up here because then the traps get triggered only by her, but then she can see you know, she can be undetectable because she has all the traps out and maintain that status. But I think that the way, because her job is to deliberately set up and there's no add-ons that like allow her to do that, it's kind of hard for her to hang out in S tier. But there's definitely builds that will easily let her be up there. But I think as a whole though, she has the strong capability of like, you know, being able to get the jump on you. So I think respectfully, we can put Hag in A tier. I mean, I put her higher than Hillbilly for sure on the A tier scale. Like she's on the cusp. She's literally like right, you know, she's like here, like literally on the cusp of being between S and A. But I think she's like the #1 A killer. I think as far as I'm aware so far in comparison to the rest of the squad. So okay, Doctor. Now here's the thing: there is a build and a play style that exists for Doctor that lets them use the Dragon's Grip, the Madness, I think it's the Iridescent add-on, and like other stuff where and the killer runs Insidious to kind of hide. So that build realistically is like very effective. I've only seen it a couple times, but I dare say that like it hasn't worked on me. Because like in a manner of speaking, it would totally work. I think that people have also tried to put that build to use, and I think it's kind of complicated. Because you know what the problem is that once the Doctor sets that up, then you already understand that that's what they're trying to do. So like you can make it work, you know. But I feel like at the same time, Doctors like the problem with the Doctor is that there's not like an immediate way to just get that undetectable status. You got to go through a process in order to effectively start getting the jump on people. And I think that's what Hag and Hillbilly run into as well, is that they have ways to set up these spooks, but they don't instantaneously just have it in the moment like Myers and Wraith do, because they can both just immediately spawn into the match and already have the ability to jump scare folks. You know, Hag and Hillbilly has to set up, and I think that the Doctor does too. However, I think that the prowess for it really starts running out of line once you realize that the killer is trying to play a very certain way and things come into play. So I think as a result, we put him in B tier. I think he's less scary than the nurse, but he's not technically not scary. I don't really think that there's many ways to like modify that madness. Now, I think what you could totally do on an add-on scale for him is very easy. You give him an add-on where if they're at Madness 3 and they snap out of it, actually I don't think he has any add-ons that do that in the first place, which is actually really surprising to me now that I think about it. And like, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think he has any add-ons where if you fully snap out of it and go from Madness 3 to 1 that you get a debuff. I mean, because like you know, logically it doesn't make sense, but it's actually kind of a massive surprise that doesn't exist, and it should just exist anyways. So I think that what should be a realistic thing for him as an add-on is when you finish snapping out of it as a survivor and you go from madness 3 to 1, you go back to 1, but he basically can see your aura, right? And you're oblivious, and it's like a minute long or something, or 2 minutes long or something crazy. That way he can do that thing that lets him get the jump on you, because it kind of forces you to have that power get activated and whatnot. And the only way that you don't effectively like get caught by the nonsense of it is that you you just don't snap out of it. But if you don't snap out of it, then you can't do generators. See, so there's like a really bad caveat to it. So I feel like as a result though, you have to kind of sort of deal with it. I think that in that case scenario, like there should be ways to basically have multiple add-ons, and yeah, like not have it be stackable though, because like if you had like a yellow one that was like 30 seconds and then a green one was like a minute, and then you put them both together, and it's just like a minute and 30 of not being able to do something or be tracked by the killer is a little bit too cracked. But I think what you could do though is if he uses one or the other, then I want to say that he basically gets oblivious on the survivor, or he's undetectable when they get cleansed, and he can like see the radius or something like that. Because essentially, I think the idea is that if he makes somebody snap out of it from 3 to 1, then he just gains the status of being undetectable. I feel like that would be the thing that he should get. It shouldn't be him putting oblivious on people. It should be him being undetectable by people. Because then, in a manner of speaking, he can just sit there and just spam the lightning powers and give everyone shock therapy level 3, and then he makes people like uncleanse it, and then as they uncleanse it, the timing kind of like repeats itself. I think that'd be really sick, actually. So I think the other problem though with the doctor that he runs into is that the replica or the hallucinations, they don't do anything. They just sit there, and they also like they kind of just vibe. You know what I mean? They sit there for like 3 seconds and then they go away, and then that's literally it. So the problem is when you see it like when you're like looking in like a room, like you're doing a generator, sitting in a room, you're just sitting there, right? And it just pops up and then it goes away. I feel like they need to just add variations of it, and this shouldn't even be like an add-on. It should be base kit to his nature with madness in general, where instead of the hallucinations just standing still and like appearing randomly, they should be able to do stuff like genuinely. Like if it just starts running somewhere, I think that'd be crazy actually, because then you just see a moving doctor and then it disappears in thin air, or it runs to a like towards a surface and then it just disappears behind like a tree. You know what I mean? That'd be crazy actually. So I think the doctor runs into the issue of like the doctor has the ability to be scary but only with one very, very specific build, and like that build is hard to use as a result. But I think the ideas that can come into play that allow the doctor to thrive a lot would really be like heavily fruitful for them to apply in the game. And I think him being able to gain oblivious when someone snaps out of it is a great idea. I think also, or no, not that. Sorry, he's undetectable when they snap out of it. Like straight up, like he should just gain buffs as a result of that. I feel like that'd be really cool. So I think Doctor is in a better place. Then we got Huntress. Huntress is a little complicated. I'm trying to think. I think Huntress could go in the B slot, but like higher than Nurse and Doctor, maybe. Here's the reason why I'm thinking about it. Because Huntress has the ability to Hail Mary hatchets like crazy, which is cool. She also does have an add-on that lets her become undetectable when she reloads. And the biggest problem that Huntress has in general is that you can hear her even when she's undetectable. I think that's really bizarre. I do thoroughly like though that she has the humming and then there's the radius, so it's really, her having the widest terror radius is, I think, the best thing about her quality as a killer as a whole, right? But she does run into the issue where, because she does have that wider terror radius and she has ways to become undetectable, it doesn't actually hide the humming. So I think you have to kind of work with both ideas of her being able to apply oblivious to hit the survivors and also be undetectable, because once you get rid of her humming, then I think it does get a little bit easier. But I think she still runs into the issue of being able to like effectively put it into perspective that she needs to be undetectable as much as possible, so she can get a jump on people physically. She can totally, you know, scare people off guard like crazy when she just throws hatchets over the freaking sky, right? Like, that's the thing that she does. But the problem is that she runs into the same problem that Trapper does. So she kind of has an issue of Trapper and Nurse, where like you can totally get scared when the hatchet like hits you, and you also can kind of hear it coming, and you can also see it coming, right? So those are two like caveats she has to kind of like deal with, right? So, you know, the question of course becomes like, how do we buff her add-ons or add add-ons to her, you know, her inventory so she can become undetectable? And I think there's a really easy one that puts it into place as well. Obviously, like when she has no hatchets, you know, she has an add-on where she's out of hatchets, then she increases her base speed, right? I think they should just take that add-on and give it a buff where not only does she get an increased base speed, she's also undetectable. That's it. Straight up. Like, that's the only thing they have to do to that add-on to allow her to really thrive in a way that lets her, you know, just run around the map and then just do stuff. Now, I think the problem though is like, you know, she's able to still outpace a lot of people on the survivor side. But the fact is though, you know, she's able to effectively just use that no hatchet prowess, because she absolutely should not be running around with hatchets while also being undetectable. That is like, that's nuts actually. And she has an add-on for that already, you know. So if she had the ability to use an add-on that lets her be undetectable while she has no hatchets, people are going to combine that with the iridescent, so she can just throw one hatchet instead of 7 or 5, whatever number is, right? And then just go undetectable. I feel like that's okay. Because, you know, hitting a hatchet in some case scenarios is actually kind of tricky, especially if like you kind of get debated out of it as a killer. Because I know a lot of huntresses always throw that one hatch that they have and they're like, F it, I gotta reload. But if you deliberately play with the add-on so that you can maintain undetectable, then it works. And of course, like when you reload the hatchets, whether it's 1 or 5, then you start humming and there's no way to, you know, hide the radius, obviously. So, you know, you want to strive on constantly maintaining that undetectable status so that you can, you know, figure it out from there. So I feel that'd be cool. So yeah, I think all in all though, Huntress would be able to like maintain like a good B rank, but if she had the ability to be undetectable and like, you know, get to jump on people kind of vibe, that'd be really sick. But like it's really hard to balance her out though, to give her the spook factor. But I feel like she's in a good place, you know, professionally as a killer, but even in the game too. So if she just had more consistent stealth, yeah, her stealth consistency is very like it's a little chopped. So if they smooth it out for her, she totally is able to like thrive in that environment. So otherwise, she's comfortably, you know, sitting on B rank. So there we go. And now we move on to Bubba. Now, it's a little weird to see a Bubba in any way, shape, and form play stealth, because he's not a stealth killer, right? Like, just not at all. He has the same, he can fall into the same idea as Billy, where like, you know, he revs a chainsaw, he can like press a button and then be undetectable. But I feel like if they copy the same style, then you know, it kind of works. But people play Bubba in a very certain way, right? Where like, if you get it down, you put them on the hook, you hide somewhere, and you just sit still with Insidious, and then when you hear the person coming up to get the unhook, you charge up and you go in there and you try and get the double. Like, I get it, but it's not like the jump scare spooky that we're looking for. Because the difference is that Bubba isn't able to get the jump on somebody working on a generator, right? Unless he plays with like the walls. So the question, of course, is like, how do you give him the ability to do that, right? Now, like I think again, like with Hillbilly, we can give him an add-on where he can't guarantee one-shot you with a chainsaw, but he, like, while revving a chainsaw, is either, you know, it doesn't make noise, or he's like undetectable or something of the nature. But I feel like it's gonna be really complicated to put him somewhere that makes sense. So I feel like, because what I want to do is I want to be able to make him be different than Hillbilly. So the question is, how do we do that? My idea, at least from just literally thinking about it, is you have to let him, because I feel like you got to play a little opposite. So Hillbilly is quiet when he's moving. I think Bubba should be quiet when he's not moving, so to speak. So I think, like, if you rev the chainsaw, yeah, and like hit the wall, you know, he has like his moment, and then he's undetectable from there. I feel like if that was a thing, that would be sick, because he's very quiet in terms of movement. Like, he moves very quietly. So if he had that power, then it'd be kind of creepy actually to see him peeking around places. But I think, like, he specifically thrives on the idea of using the chainsaw. So for him to not use the chainsaw and do what he has to do, I feel like it'd be kind of crazy. But like, if he revs the chainsaw or overheats it or something of the nature, then, like, you know, the power would be like null and void. So I feel like it's really complicated, and I think that in order for him to effectively be stealthy, he needs a different add-on from Hillbillies, but he needs one that allows him to effectively, like, you know, do the thing. So I think for that point, we're putting him, he has no real way to be stealthy, and I think that's a problem. Like, you can use perks like Plaything and like Third Seal and whatever, and like Fearmonger, whatever that it is, but I think that right now he doesn't have any way to be stealthy, and they need to give him an add-on or some kind of rework that enables it, because there's no generic way, I think, to easily make people be afraid of a killer like Bubba at the start. Is the thing. Like, at the start, there's no way. You can totally use perks by getting downs and hits to do it, but nobody wants to immediately, you know, I don't want to get hooked for the scary to activate. It should just happen the second the match starts, right? And Bubba currently has no way of doing that, so I think he just sits in D tier. Then there's Freddy. See, so now here's the thing about Freddy. He's a very, in my mindset, he's a very weird killer, and we talked about this in the DVD killer overview also. Freddy needs to be reworked completely from the ground up and be a stealth killer, because he is like a mobility killer, and his power is so bizarre. And I think also, though, one thing that really like irritated me about Freddy when I learned about it is that here's the problem. The problem that Freddy has currently is that he doesn't have a way to use his like dream thing to be scary or be undetectable or something of the nature. I talked about this in the other video, but what they need to do is they need to give the killer a reason to benefit a lot under the sleep form, and they need to give survivors a reason to fear the concept of being asleep. Because the only reason why Freddy wants people to be asleep and why people don't want to be asleep is so that he doesn't teleport faster to the generators. That's literally it. They need to completely change that. So my proposition. So here's the thing: Freddy has no way of being stealthy with his kit outside of perks, so he's down here. But my proposition and how we can bring him up is we change his kit entirely so that nobody goes asleep over time, or at least it's not as quick. I should say that it's not as quick, because I think it's like 30 seconds you go to sleep. Now, while Freddy is, if he's like battling people while he's undetectable, or while they're awake rather, that's a more appropriate thing. If Freddy has survivors that are awake, then he can't go invisible, because I didn't know that he can do that. Like if Freddy's at a certain distance, you can't see him until he gets close, right? So he should not be able to do that when people are awake. He should just straight up be visibly seen while people are awake. After some time, or he gets the hit on you, then there's like another countdown that happens while you're inside of the dream mode. Because while you're in the dream mode, the music for Freddy's Terror Radius, that it shouldn't be playing the way that it does. Because they say that his Terror Radius is like hard to decipher like where he is, but it's actually not true. And I want to call it a bug. But whenever I play against a Freddy, and when I hear his little Terror Radius music while I'm sleeping, I know where he is and how far away he is from me, and it never helps his case. So if you play that and make it completely ominous and like just add to like the idea of like, because Huntress has the same problem, like low-key, like you can hear where she is based on where she's humming and it's obvious, but there's no way to discern the distance from like the Wraith's bell, right? So he needs that to happen while he's asleep or has survivors sleeping. So you know, when you play through the story, when you play through the match against a Freddy, what happens is, right, you start with a meter, it goes all the way through, boom, you're asleep. There should be a second meter while you're asleep that if it finishes, then you get exposed and like you're blind, because like you need to literally be afraid to go to sleep against Freddy. You need to be able to effectively be like, oh, I'm sleeping, I gotta get the hell out of this ASAP. So I think that if you do that, it literally lets him do that. And then his add-ons should essentially allow people to go to sleep faster or increase the timing of things that happen while people are sleeping. Because him having dream snares and pallets is completely, they should just take that out, because it doesn't matter. They should just make the sleep like the nightmare mode way more dangerous than what it currently is, instead of it just like being able to trick you into where pallets are and aren't kind of thing. I theoretically I don't like that it's what it is. But he also needs to be able, because like you gotta, again, he needs to kind of like constantly keep you sleeping, and you need to constantly not want to go to sleep. But because he's a killer, he needs like an advantage over the survivors. So like, you know, the more people that are asleep in the moment and during the match, they should retain that, right? So like if one person's asleep, there's no debuff, and it takes 60 seconds to get exposed while in the dream mode. This is me like conceptualizing it, right? But if two people are asleep, then both people have a chance to get exposed in 45 seconds. And if 3 people get asleep, then it's 30 seconds. And if everyone's asleep, everyone's instantly exposed, because you need to be able to effectively put people asleep where like it's dangerous to be asleep. That's the straight up what it is. So I don't want him to necessarily use the dream mode to just teleport to generators faster, and I don't want him to be able to like put people to sleep so that he can put down pallets and snares. Now I think that one drawback that he should have is that while like if you get put to sleep and then you get hit, you shouldn't go back to sleep. Like you should be immune to sleeping for like a while. But even if you get hit by the killer, because the killer needs to have a weakness, but he needs to not, you know, be weak in his own like power form. So I think that's the way that you can do it. And if you do that, then you can play with the dream mode. So then you can change it so that like if we have like this new version of Freddy like made, then when people are asleep, right? Because we haven't even talked about how he can be scary and stealthy. We just talked about how you can change the power. So instead of exposing people after some time when they fall asleep, everyone is always asleep and you can't unsleep. So you're just stuck in dream mode forever in the game. But as a result, I'm gonna make this like an iridescent. So the iridescent is that everyone's asleep and there's no clocks, period. But people can't get exposed. That's one. And he's undetectable while people are asleep. That's what it is. I think if you did that, then he literally gets to walk around undetectable and oblivious to people the entire time. Period. That's literally it. And then you keep the same rules applied as well, where like if he's at a certain radius, he's invisible. But when he comes in, then you can kind of like, you know, see him sort of thing. And you know, they can just make it work that way. They can still try and wake each other up. You know what? Actually, I'm okay with that actually, because I think the idea is that there should just not be any alarm clocks anywhere. Period. But them waking each other up, I feel like would be a good way to balance it out. That's a good idea actually. Now you say it out loud. So I do like that though. Like if you are using the iridescent, the rework iridescent Freddy, right? Add-on. If everyone starts in dream mode and you can't expose people while they're in dream mode, but you're undetectable and they can't wake up through clocks or by hooks. They can only wake up by waking each other up effectively by the other survivor. That way it kind of lets it be balanced out in a way that works out. That was my bad. I'm pressing buttons. So I think like I want like if you did that, Freddy goes up here, guaranteed, because he's able to be stealthy. You can't really see him. The game makes it really freaking creepy. And even at base kit level without that, he's here, because being exposed by the killer and not being able to see him when he's like within a certain radius makes him, that's scary as hell, right? So I think as a result, you can put him up here at base kit with the rework, or he can go S tier with the iridescent. But because he has none of those things, and you got to use perks that are in game currently to make it work, and even his power now doesn't help, then like he, you know, as a result, he's down here because you can't even use the teleport. Like the teleport thing doesn't even, like, they should just take that out. Him teleporting to generators, for whatever, like the effect of the blood coming out is really cool, and like I get it and I like it, but if they're gonna make that a power of his, he shouldn't be able to cancel the power, because that is just a little bit too cheap for how you can effectively play the killer. I think that that's just not fun, because like, you know, if because he has an add-on currently in game where every generator goes to that like little like moment where it looks like he's coming through, so everyone immediately wants to F off and just get away from the gen, right? And it kind of lets you know that like he's coming, but then he fakes you out, and then he actually finds that you're there, so now he goes over there. They should just take that concept out entirely. So you know, that way he can just utilize the power and traverse as he needs to. Or if you want to keep the teleportation, he has to commit to it the same way that like Cenobite does when he catches the box. Like, you can't fully establish the teleport until you finish the bar and you do the teleport. And if you want to do that, you can even give him an ability as like a separate little add-on that's not inclusive with the iridescent, where when he uncloaks out of the thing, he's undetectable. Like, that would be cool. But I think that because he appears right on the gen when he teleports, like you can see him. So, you know, if he goes straight to a teleporter or to a generator where somebody's working on a generator, then that kind of gives it away. But if he's 3-genning people and then there's a generator that's not being touched, and he goes to that generator that no one is by, and he's undetectable for 30 seconds, that would be cool. I feel like that'd be a great application. But that being said, though, unfortunately as it is, Freddy's got none of those things. So if the devs are listening and they want to make that happen, let me know, because I feel like Freddy's the #1 killer in the entire game. I kid you not, who needs a rework more than anybody else in the entire game. Even more than Wraith. As much as I hate him, I want them to get rid of Wraith. But Freddy legitimately needs a rework on all fronts. And I think they should just turn him into a stealth killer that utilizes expose, because there's no stealth killer that uses expose after like a time duration thing. Technically speaking, everyone who has an expose and is a stealth killer, they do it by applying an effect. I think he'd be the only one that has the ability to do it. Like, if you linger in the darkness for too long kind of vibe, it works for him. So there you go, Freddy. Phew. Okay. Next we have the pig. Now here's the thing. I'm gonna say it again with you. The pig literally has an ability that allows her to crouch and hide and be undetectable, and while she's crouching and hiding, she can see your aura when she's close to you. And that's literally a power that so many people honestly, I think that they should have that power. So right now she's guaranteed A or S tier. Okay, now here's the thing though. I think currently she's A tier because while she has the ability to crouch around and be really freaking creepy, the builds and kits that she runs into is that she doesn't maintain it guaranteed. I also think she has to get up to attack, so for her to get the jump scare hit on you takes a little bit longer than it would like Myers, but it's a little bit shorter than the Wraith. I think honestly, I think she's better than both of these two. So that's the thing. Now, again, I think from a current stand basis, she's A tier because her kit currently, in terms of add-ons, does not allow her to, like, for example, be a Scratch Mirror Myers currently, right? She needs to do stuff to, like, kind of invoke it, or she needs to theoretically get add-ons that allow her to do that. She has add-ons that let her play that way, but I think that even if she has those add-ons on currently, like in game, she still has to like take the time to crouch and hide and then get the jump on people, which is honestly fine. It shouldn't be instantaneous, but it should be a lot more faster than how it is currently. Like I think she crouches and then 2 seconds it goes away. It should be like a half second. She crouches, boom. It shouldn't be crouch and boom. Like she shouldn't be playing around with it like that. So it should be like, you know, she crouches half a second or even like a full second is fine too, honestly. But I think it takes like 3 seconds for her to like get the terror radius put away when she crouches. So yeah, I think that like she has very, very powerful capability because she has a base kit crouch that lets her be undetectable, and she has an add-on that lets her track auras. She literally has the ability to be Scratch Mirror. The only problem is that she doesn't really have an easy way to move about, because like Myers can walk around standing up tall behind walls and do the thing. Once she gets up, her radius gets revealed. That's a problem. So you can definitely start off with her stealthy and whatnot, and it's great, but you definitely need to use perks and builds that kind of allow her to thrive in that environment. So I feel like she you know, because she doesn't have anything like that, she sits here. Now here's the thing though, to theoretically put things into perspective for her on what they could do, because she's honestly fine where she is now, but they should just change the same way how they change Myers' powers completely from how he functions with the tier 3. They should just give her the same capability, because like objectively, I don't want her to have any way to have her terror radius be revealed by anybody in any way, shape, and form, whatever. So they need to buff the add-on that lets her move faster while crouching, where when she gets up, like stands up, she's undetectable for an additional 5 seconds. So that way she can maintain it while she's moving on a faster level while standing up, because she has nothing like that in the game. She only maintains it while she's crouched, but the second she gets up, that's it. She's up and running. You can hear the radius, boom. So if they gave her an add-on that allows her to move a little faster while she's crouching, but when she gets up, she can maintain undetectable for like another like 5 or 10 seconds, that'd be great. I'd even give her different levels of it, where like a yellow one is 5 and a green one's 10 and a purple one's like 20 or something crazy like that. I think also though, they should be able to effectively change how she uses the traps, because obviously she has reverse bear traps and that's like the main name of the power, but I'm so surprised that they don't change the name of the traps to have the traps do different things. I think one thing that would be really, really cool is that she can put like a tracker on a trap. So if you like take a like, she's the one that interacts with the jigsaw things, so she can put like a sensor in it, so none of the killers can, or none of the survivors can like interact with it, or unless they can and then take it out. Like that's an idea. Actually I like that idea a lot more too. So you know, like if the pig finds a jigsaw thing, she puts a tracker in it, boom, it's in, right? Now anybody who walks near that jigsaw thing gets their aura revealed and they're oblivious. So that way, the killer has a sensor and can actually attack the person that's near that trap or the jigsaw thing. So that way, she doesn't really revolve around using the power to kill people with the reverse bear trap. She just uses it as like she turns from a RNG like killer with the trap into like an information killer with auras and whatnot. And I think that would make her way scarier, especially because in maps like RPD and like Midwich, like it works multi-leveled. 100% it should work multi-leveled, because like if boon totems work that way, if tracking with like aura stuff works that way with like Kindred or with Myers' mirror, then 100% her tripwire, like I like that name actually a lot, her tripwire sensor trap should allow it to work multi-level. So now she becomes fucking crazy scary in Midwich and in RPD, because in Midwich that level is dark as hell. So if she was able to wear, and she has like an all black outfit, if you put those two together and have her walking around Midwich using sensor traps to track you and whatnot, she's a crouch killer. So she can easily just hide behind stuff and get the sneak up on you and figure it out. I think that would be so goated for her. It would be such a great way for her to like take her level of stealth and throw that up tenfold, because she can see where you are aura wise. You can't even hear her, and she can crouch up behind you, and she knows that you're working on a generator and you're looking at the doorway that's here. She can go for the other doorway and sneak up behind obstacles and catch you off guard. That would be so sick. So here's the thing though, I think that as a result though, Pig is going to need to be the killer that essentially has like a 2 add-on system, because I think we've been talking about how we want to avoid giving every killer just one add-on, or we want to try to effectively give every killer one add-on so that they can be stealthy and scary. But I think that with that scenario in mind, the Pig should maximize it with 2. And I think that the idea of changing one trap into like a tripwire sensory trap and giving her the ability to maintain undetectable when she stands up for like 10 seconds, those two would be phenomenal. So I feel like those two would work great hand in hand, and it allows, but I feel like you can't kind of combine the two. I think that'd be a little too cracked. So if you separate them, I feel like it'd be great. So my thing is that I feel like Pig just needs more versions of traps in general, because the thing is, like, it's not only one trap in the movie Saw. If you watch the game, like the movie Saw as a whole, they have a whole butt ton of traps. So I feel like what they could do as like a future rework kind of vibe, it's not required, but it'd be sick, is if they give her different traps to utilize that just do more than just put it on a person and then put them on the hook and then she has to go have them solve this stuff. Because I feel like that playstyle kind of gets a little bit tedious from the killer side of things, and also the RNG for it is a little bit underwhelming for her to like truly benefit from. So because once she puts the trap on you, the killer kind of just has to deal with other people, so the survivor has to just try to like get lucky and like pray that they somehow magically don't hit a trap or the right puzzle to unsolve it all. So I think by giving them other traps, then I feel like it would work pretty sick actually. So the tripwire one, the tripwire sensor one is a great idea for an add-on. Oh, that's a sick idea actually. So the idea is that you can put shackles on the survivors when you catch them, so that they move slower, but they have to find keys to undo the shackles. That is such a good idea. They can even use the same jigsaw thing, and then they just, instead of like sitting their hands inside to find the key, whatever, they go in there and they kind of figure it out, and then they get a key and they just take off the shackles and they run faster. I think that'd be such a sick idea. So I feel like that's just one issue that they should figure out a way to like effectively like address that. So if the Pig had a multitude of ways of applying traps to people, like the traps should do different things, is what it should be. I don't want to necessarily like skip the line a bit, but like the knight has 3 different guards that can do different things. I feel like the killer as a Pig should be able to have different ways to do things that work in the same fashion. So yeah, I mean, I think there's a whole lot of ideas for it though, like, because everybody has a multitude number of ways of doing stuff. Pig is the only one that has nothing in the nature. So if they rework her and give her different traps, then I feel like that would really change her playstyle like quite a bit. So I like that actually. But I think Pig is like right where she is now. A tier makes sense because she's not instantaneously stealthy and scary, but she does have a way of doing it that's pretty freaking cracked, and it works with some builds. Like a plaything Pig is instantaneously scary, but it requires you to set up the hook, and you pray that they don't get the hex out. So once you do that, though, I feel like it works though. So there's the Pig. What are you saying? You're saying that you make a change to 3 different trap types? Oh, like mid-match, like Clown, how they have potions? That'd be kind of cool, actually. But I feel like that could be a little bit too busted, though, if you can like figure out like which one is good and which one's not good kind of vibe. Because like if she had like a slowdown trap, a bear trap, and like a third trap that like, I don't know, like made her scream all the time kind of vibe, then I feel like you can kind of figure out which ones do what, and you end up having to play then the killer becomes basically in the same fashion, right? Because then you kind of start playing with certain traps in a certain way. I don't know, but I don't necessarily. I'd rather Pig use traps that are like universal to everyone, but you don't know which trap it is until she uses it on you, or you figure out which one she has. Then I feel like it'll be a little bit more balanced in that kind of regard. But I feel like because you can have them switch around, then like you shouldn't have 4 different traps and then have 4 different effects. That'd be a little bit that'd be kind of annoying actually. I don't know. I like the idea that like you pick one trap before you go in the match, and then you put that trap on every person, and then they gotta just deal with it and like figure it out. Or you take out her ideas of using traps on people, and she uses traps on the jigsaws, and then those gain effects. So I feel like what's one I just thought about? Like if the killer puts a trap inside of a jigsaw thing, and the survivor gets near it, then like it does a thing. I don't know what it would do per se, but I feel like it could do a thing, and that would be cool. Or there's no traps that are on the jigsaw things, but she could put them on chests. I feel like that would be sick. Because the fact that the trapper can put traps anywhere that they want to visually would be kind of cool. But if the Pig could put traps on chests or on generators, I feel like that would be really sick, because that'll kind of let you play into it as well. So like that should totally be a thing then. There should be a trap where she can put the reverse bear trap on the person's head and kill them, or she puts a shackle trap on a person to slow them down, or she can put a trap inside of a jigsaw thing so it has like an aura tracking thing, or she can put a trap on a generator and it like does something. Boom, there's your 4. I feel like that'd be so sick. And again, like you can pick one before you go into the match, and I think when you do that, you kind of expect to understand like what kind of Pig you're playing against, but you don't really know until you actually like see the power get used. Either way though, I think that Pig has a lot of future rework potential cases in that scenario, but I think for right now, as she's built in the game currently, she's actually like pretty good at getting the spooks. But again, people need to play that way for it to like work out. So there's a Pig. Clown is Clown is weird, okay? Clown is weird, and he doesn't have anything that like works for him because he's a pressure killer. He's not at all stealth by any means at his kit level, and it's kind of a pain actually. The thing though is that he's got that pinky finger thing, and I think that it's sick. And I think with the Clown also, we 100% talked about this in the overview talking about the Clown, how him having 2 potions is not enough. Like him having 2 color potions that one slows them down and makes you faster, there needs to be more variety. And since we like just talked about Pig having to be able to bring different potions to the actual battle, or the trial rather, like I think the Clown should have the same exact idea. So the idea for Clown would be that because here's the thing, Clown right now in the game as it is, he has nothing for stealth, nothing. So it's a complete utter shambles for him right now. So we can immediately jump into the theoreticals about how we can make him scary and stealthy. So he should be able to put a variety. There's 100 different bottles I can think of that like would allow him to fully become a stealth or sneaky scary killer, and it would work for him amazingly. He should have a potion, because here's the thing, he should have 2 potions but they should come as like a set. You can't mix and match between 2 potions, because you shouldn't have a potion that makes you slow and then a potion that makes you fast, right? That's one set. He shouldn't have one though where you can take out the slow potion and put like an aura potion, so he has an aura potion and a fast potion. That should not be a thing. He should be able to have an add-on that just changes the potions as a set. So, you know, his base kit set is just like, you got the purple one that slows and the yellow one that speeds. You can use an add-on that changes it to like you know, a white potion that if you use it on yourself, you're undetectable, right? If a survivor walks through it, they get oblivious. Then there should be a like a black potion that if you use it in I don't know, like in an area, then you get like blindness or something of the nature, right? But you don't get to swap between potion colors, so you can't use like a purple and a white one. Like that you can't do, right? It should just be like straight up that you get to use them in a set. That way you can start just mixing up colors, because then it becomes pretty apparent that the clown becomes a much more unpredictable killer that you fight against, because you can't really see right away what he's using until you see him like throw the potion. Then when he throws the color, you're like, oh crap, he has this set. Then you can kind of figure out what he's trying to play like. And like, you know, the add-ons will still change the effect and how he functions. Like that's fine. Like if he has like the pinky finger, like, and exposes you, that's fine. You know what I mean? He should not have a potion that if you run through it, you get exposed. That should not be a thing. Unless you like prevent him from being able to slow down the person that he's exposing, because that would be really annoying. But there should also be a potion thing, because remember, he reloads potions, so they can also easily do like a potion where when he's at, or an add-on, sorry, when he has no more potions, then he gets a status. I think that would be cool. So I think he should also have a potion where he throws it on himself and he's undetectable, but then when he runs out of potions, then like some, you know, it like lasts more than just like 5 seconds, right? It's like a 2-minute throw, but when he reloads it, the effect instantaneously goes away. So he should get a potion where he gets it for 2 minutes, boom, undetected, right? And then he does his own thing, period. Or you give him a potion set that lets him, you know, he can throw it on himself and it lasts like 30 seconds and he's undetectable, and that'll be like the white one, right? But then if you give him like a not pink one, that's the wrong color. Let's do blue. If it's a blue one, no, let's do red, because I feel like red makes sense. If he throws a red potion in an area, and if the person is in the vicinity of that potion cloud, then the aura for that person can be seen, and it lingers when they are outside of the radius of the potion cloud for like 10 seconds or something. That way you can effectively have him be undetectable, see auras, and then he can track down people without necessarily being caught in a way, and that'll give him like the Myers status of him being able to do the thing. So I feel like that as a potion set can be a thing. Then he can kind of use them freely, so he can, you know, he can throw it on himself, you know, throw the red one, reload, and then kind of rinse and repeat, and it kind of lets him like maintain that at all times. That'd be fine, right? That's one add-on though. If he had a different add-on that was, you know, completely separate of the 2 potions, right? He has 1 potion, he uses it 1 time, boom, on himself, 2-minute undetectable, period. That's it. And then if he reloads it, then that's it. He loses the status. They should totally implement something like that for him, because if he does that, that would be amazing. Because like I said, right now Clown is completely not scary by any means necessary with his add-ons currently. You can use the perks and whatnot too, but the thing is that like you still have to down people, and like it is what it is. They should also like make sure that like, again, here's the thing, the red-headed pinky finger thing is fine though. Like if you're using the 2-minute one-time potion and you have yourself undetectable for 2 minutes, you know, if you throw that potion on a person and you have the pinky finger, then yeah, you can expose them, that's fine. But you have 1 potion, you know, you don't get to throw 5 on a person and like get the exposed eventually, right? I feel like the problem that I hate right now about Clown is that he has 5 potions, they expose you if they hit you directly, and you get slower. So if he catches you once with it, then it's over. You have to guarantee, if you get caught in the cloud even, he can freely catch up to you, throw the potion at you, get you with the hit, and it's a guarantee, right? They kind of have to reduce the guarantee where you can just kind of spam it and it works, you got to get a little bit lucky with the idea of like it working. So I feel like if they did that, like if I mean, like I said, you shouldn't take out the pinky finger. It should stay as it is. I think it's fine. But I think that of course it's going to be dangerous, obviously, because then the playstyle for how Clown plays is going to be what it is. Like if he has the white and red potion set where he can throw it on himself for 30 seconds and be undetected, and then throw a red one somewhere and then it shows the aura. If he throws either one at a person and he has the pinky finger, yeah, you should still get exposed. Like you just should. But you know, that's not, he wouldn't be really using it the same way. You know. But the thing is that I think that if he uses the pinky finger, then the second that he gets the hit on them, then all debuffs or all of his buffs just instantaneously go away. So the aura goes away, the undetectable goes away, you know, whatever that it is, because he shouldn't be really, he shouldn't be spamming it the way that he can spam it currently. So if they can mitigate that, that'd be cool, while also giving him the ability to like mix and match a lot of his potion sets. I think that'd be so sick. So, like if they nerf the pinky finger in the future, but basically he can't slow you down if it hits you. Like if he directly hits you with it, the cloud shouldn't spread. Like, you know. So I feel like to kind of give it a little bit of like that luck factor, or at least that skill factor, right? If you get hit by a potion, it just shouldn't break. You should just get exposed. Period. I mean, but then, right, then you can try to avoid the next one that could slow you down. But if he keeps on hitting you directly in the back with the potion, then you don't get slowed down for the exposed, right? But I mean, we're not trying to talk about how to nerf the killer. We're just talking about how to make him scary. I feel like the potion set thing is a great way to do it, you know. So yeah, you give him one potion set that lets him be undetectable. He can throw it somewhere and see the auras of people. Or you give him one potion that he throws on himself and he gets 2 minutes of undetectable. Or he throws potions in areas and then people get oblivious and blindness for like a minute or something like that. That way you don't really get to see where he's coming from, because that's the whole point, is to try to figure out how to make him undetectable. Because like I said, like right now in the game, that man has none of it, and I think that would be a pretty good way to go about it. So that's Clown. Now we got Spirit. Here's the thing. Spirit literally has the same issue that the nurse has, but it's just different. So when you hear her phasing, she's invisible. You don't know where she's coming from, and she can get a hit on you. It also, I don't think Oblivious makes it harder for you to hear the phasing coming. I think you can always hear the phasing coming, no matter what's going on. So dare I even put her down here, because I feel like she doesn't have any way to like, she can't really like get the jump on you if you can hear the phasing, right? But the thing is that, again, she's a very good killer at being able to catch up to you. And you know, they need to just, I think there's add-ons that allow her to do certain things, but she doesn't get to fully do it perfectly, in a sense that could put her up here on a build scale. Because again, you got to rely on using 2 add-ons to give her that maximum stealth capability, and I think that some capabilities let her really catch you in the moment. But I think that with the way how the game operates with her in mind, she's always going to be like, you know, auditorily hearable and you know, coming for you because of how she phases. So which again to me is kind of surprising, because I feel like the Spirit would be one of those killers. You would think that the Spirit would come up here somehow because of how she can be built, but like the phasing and her having the like plaything, for example, bro, it doesn't do anything for you. So I mean, I feel like that's like the problem. I'm trying to think about her add-ons right now. I don't think so, actually. No, she has no way of like maintaining full stealth, especially at base level, because like the thing that kind of helps her confuse people is that with her phasing, like her passive phasing, like the aura doesn't let you, like, you can't track her aura with ease. You know, that's kind of like a thing. but she doesn't really get to maintain full stealth from start to finish during a match. I think that's her problem. And like I said, like perks don't help her with that either. Like you can't third seal it with blindness, you can't use oblivious, you can't use plaything, you can't really do anything for it. So now we gotta sit here and figure out how we make her stealthy. Because here's the problem with the whole thing. She needs to be counterbalanced if she's gonna be able to try to be undetectable, because she absolutely can't be fast while she's phasing. And also hard to track. They can't do that. Not even like remotely close. So I think an add-on that would be very, very helpful in order to kind of give her that balance is she can phase, but she does it at normal speed. So she doesn't get a movement speed boost from it. But she can see the people when she's phasing. Yeah, and also you can't hear her phasing either. Like those are the three powers that she should applicate. You can't hear her phasing, she can see you when she's phasing, but she does it at normal speed. Also, she I think you can technically, I don't actually know if that's actually a real thing, I don't play Spirit to know, if you can catch people and pick them up from the shoulder while she's phasing, they got to make sure that you can't do that. Like I mean, not that you can't, but like I feel like because I don't want her to be able to invisibly catch up to somebody who's doing a generator and then just like scoop them up from the... I mean, I guess you can. No, maybe she can. I actually would be okay with them letting her be able to like grab you off the generator if she like does that. So one add-on that would be sick for her is to be able to effectively like, you know, she moves at normal speed when she's phasing, you can't hear the phasing, and she can see people when she's phasing. That way you can effectively do it properly. You can't grab people from exiting after phasing. Okay, that's fine then. I think that's if you do for 3 seconds. Yeah, that's fine then. I mean, I just didn't want it to sound like it's gonna be broken, because like Myers can do that, which is like fine, but like it's hard for also, you know, because Myers gets the perfect jump scare on you every time, so like it's fine. So for Spirit, yeah, the add-on should essentially let you be able to see people while you're phasing. You can't be heard while phasing, and you don't move as fast. You move at normal base speed as a killer when you're phasing. That way you can effectively sneak up on people and then it'd be crazy. I think though they wanted to like, I think there's like a conversation of them trying to nerf Spirit by essentially you can see her when she's like moving, that her like the dirt kicks up in the ground, so you can see that where she is while she's doing it. The purpose of that would not make sense then, so I feel like they should just not apply that idea to it. But I think for one add-on that would be sick. I think that's it actually. I don't think you can really add anything else for her while she like is able to like use her power, because you really can't like change any other way to like use her power, I don't think, because like unless you do things that give her like a status, right? Actually, here's an idea. I think that if she had the ability, like she can't attack while she's phasing, but if she can phase through an area, she can like infect the area. And if people are like infect, like let's say like there's like a generator in a room that people are doing, and you're playing Spirit with the add-on, right? You can phase into the room, but you go back to your body. But anybody who's in that area while the phasing is happening, like you get affected by blindness and oblivious. That's it. That's literally it. So when you go through an area and you're in there and you're doing a generator, anybody who's in the area vicinity of the Spirit, it's kind of like how Starstruck works, you know what I mean? Where like if you have a person on the shoulder and you're playing clear and you walked around an area, then like they get exposed. It should work like that, not as wide, but it should work like that, where she phases through a certain amount of area spacing and cover it, right? But then she goes back to her body as it was. And then people who are near it, essentially they get oblivious and blindness. That way she can kind of just be like, okay, cool, I know where they are, let's just walk in on there and try and get the jump in. And then she just goes in there and does the thing, and then they freak out and get scared. I feel like that'd be really cool. So So that'd be kind of fun to look at too. I think also because she phases between like, I want to call it dimensions, they can totally play with that too, where same rules apply. She can kind of like, I think it takes like 2.5 seconds for her to like start like cracking in and do the phase movement thing. They can make that like a little sooner, and they just let her phase around like normal. So she kind of ends up being like a wraith in a sense, where like you can hear her phasing, or no, you can hear her go into phase, but then you can't hear her come out of it. And then she can essentially walk around the map, and like she still can't see you, but she can hear you if you're like walking around or running. Because I feel like the way to, because again, you got to figure out a way to also counter it. So like in the scenario of it being like a spirit or a and it's like a map like Midwich, like if she uses the add-on where she phases invisibly, you can't hear it, she can see you, and also she moves at normal speed, then like, you know, you just gotta kind of keep being in the move, right, to kind of understand like fully. But again, that's kind of hard for her to counter, or her to be countered by it, but it does make her move a lot more slower, so it kind of lets it run the way that it works. If you use the idea add-on where she can phase into an area and like you know, pollute the area with blindness and oblivious status effects, then she still is slow. So for her to effectively play the field with that power, she still has to cover a lot of ground, right? Because these add-ons are removing her ability to move quickly, and I think that's important. And like same thing if you like can same thing if like she has an add-on where she just phases in the spirit world and then she can come out of it on will. Again, the problem was that like the counter for her is that she can't see people, right? So like if you're making noise and moving, then she can see you and hear you and then catch you. But if people are playing it slowly, then she has to forcibly unphase to figure out who's where. I think that would be a great way to make sure that, like, you know, as cracked as it can sound, it's still counterable to a degree, so like it works. So I think if you gave those add-ons to Spirit, I think it would work like super well for her. So yeah. Or if the Spirit gets near you and plays this jump screaming sound, then she goes back to her original place. That'd be kind of cool actually. But I feel like it's kind of hard though, because she still needs to be able to like get the hit on you or something. Or there should be like a, I don't know. I mean, yeah, it could give impairing vision to like being hit by a flashbang or like a clown bottle. That, you know what, that should be an effect that gets added to the oblivious blindness thing. Like there should be like a thing where you feel like, you know, like something with your aura is like being affected, and then, you know, it'll like do like a vision impairment thing, whatever, and then you just end up with like oblivious and blindness, boom, and then she can come in and then do the business. But that'd be kind of cool. Yeah, dizziness is a good way to put it. Yeah, like you get dizzy and then you like wake your senses up, and then you're like, oh crap, right? But then once the dizziness like finishes, you get oblivious and blindness, and then it lasts like 30 seconds or like a minute or something, and then she goes in and she does a bunch of stuff on you, and I think it'd be so sick. So there's Spirit. I mean, you know, it kind of works in a nutshell. So okay, and now we have ourselves the Legion. Here's the problem with Legion. The killer is a rush down killer in the same exact fashion as Bubba, except like it's not a chainsaw, it's a knife. So the thing is that the killer has been reworked several times to kind of allocate to that idea that you want to be able to like effectively do the thing with him, to like, or her, to put the mend, they got to unmend, and then they get the stats effect, right? There is one where you can essentially get a like, I forget if you can get oblivious when you get the unmend. I don't think so though. But if there isn't one of those, then they should totally get one of those. Because one thing that the Legion thrives under as like an advantage over a lot of the other killers is that they're small. They're a small killer. They're very small. They're literally the same size as all the survivors, basically. So it's really easy for them to kind of like, you know, do stuff. But again, the problem is that Legion needs to be able to be like scary, spooky, and undetectable from the very beginning, not as a result of like using the ability, I would say. Or maybe you can, I don't know. I feel like you can kind of make it work too. I think one idea that I can come up with about Legion is that if the killer activates the frenzy, then actually, you know what? That's actually a great idea. If the frenzy happens and the Legion has like the add-on, you don't hear them coming except for the breathing. All you hear is the breathing of them like getting closer and closer, right? But then they hit you, and then you have to unmend as normal. You get a deep wound, you got to unmend, but you get blindness and oblivious. And then when they finish the frenzy, they get undetectable. I'm so serious. And remember, the thing is that the undetectable just happens the second you finish a power, but the unmend happens if like you actually mend yourself back up into the state. So I feel like it shouldn't be the same as it is with the power how it is now, where like if you get the 4 hits with the Legion, you get the guarantee down. They shouldn't do that. They should make it so that if you get, I think if you get the 4, if you get a hit on each person, they should get oblivious. But if you get the 4 hits on everybody, then then the first person that got hit should get exposed. That's what it should do. But the expose goes away if you mend yourself. So I think the idea is, right, killer goes into silent frenzy, hits the first person, that person has to figure it out. Second person, third person, fourth person, they all get oblivious and they're still undetectable. Then the killer has to figure out where the first person is and try and get the hit on them, because again, the first person that got hit needs to go find a place to hide. There's no way for the killer to track that person either. They should just go hide. And I feel like a locker will be the easy way to go about it, which is fine. But that person gets exposed until they mend. So if you mend yourself in a way, then it goes away. So then no matter what happens, right? Boom. The killer can just kind of figure it out. The only problem though is I don't want the killer to necessarily run around with that add-on and broken, because that'd be really annoying. But I also kind of sort of get it. But it kind of makes you want to run an anti-healer, a healer build against the Legion, because like again, if you and like a perk like Vigil, because if you have both of those, and yeah, you can kind of, it's a great counter to that as a whole. So I feel like it would be really helpful for that to be a thing. It's okay like that the killer is frenzied during the entire thing undetectable, and then only for like a little bit when they finish going on a frenzy, but the killer shouldn't be immediately like on a person on the 4th. I want the idea to be so that the first person that they get is the last person that they get at the same time. So that's why the first person gets hit, unmanned, it's whatever. The second person gets hit, the third person gets hit, the fourth person gets hit. Then there's like an expose on the first person if they get 4 hits. That way there's a reason for the killer to go find that person, but also the person who gets affected by it has to go figure out a way to hide or handle the business, whatever that it boils down to. Because there shouldn't be any way for like the killer to regain anything while they're doing the frenzy. Because Legion's kind of like ruthless, so I feel like it'd be kind of sick actually. Or rather than that, you can even change it up and not make the killer run frenzy on 4 people, because I feel like if you do that, that's still going to make the killer play the same way. So instead of that, the killer goes into a silent frenzy and only hits 1 person. And if 1 person gets hit, everyone gets the status effect. No, if we're gonna make this correct, we gotta make it complicated deliberately so that it makes sense, because I want the idea to not necessarily force the killer to like tunnel or like only target 1 person at a time. So here's how we'll do it. With this theoretical add-on, killer goes into silent frenzy, stabs 1 person, everyone else has their aura revealed for like 15 seconds or 10 seconds maybe. Let's say 10 seconds. Except for the person who got hit. The person who got hit gets hit and they get oblivious. The killer's undetectable, and then everyone else has their aura exposed for 10 seconds, right? So the killer's time duration also for them being in silent frenzy is also much shorter than usual. So they're not supposed to go around and go hit everybody. They get to hit one person, and they gotta go fucking hide. But when they finish the frenzy, then they're undetectable, and then they can walk around, and then they use the aura of the people, and they track people down with the undetectable status, while they also have oblivious. That way you can kind of guarantee it in a way that the idea is to be spooky scary. And then that's it. And then the person who, and like, they get oblivious until the first person mends themselves back into full. When that mend is complete by the first person, then the timer for the oblivious for everyone else's sake goes down, let's say by like, if the killer was undetected for 30 seconds, everyone gets oblivious for 20. If the person that is hit gets unmended or mended, whatever that it is, then the timer goes down by 15 seconds. Because that way the killer only has 10 seconds to stay undetected. That way it's not like it's not always a constant habit of being, you know, it should just be possible for the killer to maintain it slightly. It doesn't reset either, because I feel like if it did reset, then the killer still has a reason to go hit everybody individually. The killer should only hit one person, and that person has to mend, and if they mend, then the oblivious timer goes down so that there's only like 5, because like if you think about it, the killer has unbreakable for 30 seconds. Within the 30 seconds, there's 20 seconds of oblivious on the survivors, there's 10 seconds of aura on the survivors, and if you can mend within the 30 seconds, then the timer for the oblivious goes down by 15 seconds. That way the killer only has like 15 seconds to stay oblivious, or undetectable rather, sorry. And then that way, like, because you know the killer already has auras, so the killer knows where people are going to be. But at least if the killer is too slow to catch up to a person by the time undetectable wears off, then they have a chance to kind of figure out a way to get away from the killer, right? Or they just stay on the move until they can figure it out. Because I think the idea is that we're going to be using maps like Midwich and RPD to kind of keep it like fruitful and scary, because it's kind of hard to use that add-on combination in Coldwind. This is me theorizing everything happening on Midwich or RPD like the whole time. Leary's also works as well, but I feel like Midwich and RPD are the ones that work the most because they're 2 story levels, so that's why I think it'll work in that kind of regard. So and the countdown timer for it is like, you know, if the killer can hit a person while being undetected, then the meter for them to go back into scary mode, it reactivates sooner than it would if you didn't do it. Like if it takes a minute to restart the cooldown, then if you hit one person, you take off 10 seconds. If you hit 2 people, then you take off 20, right? And then that way you can just take 10 seconds to go back into stealth crazy mode, and you tag a person again, and you go figure out the business. I thought that'd be really cool. So that's the only real way I can think of Legion like being spooky scary. I don't really know if there's any other easy way to go about it though. Because I don't want like exposed, and I don't want every killer to always have an aura thing. I feel like that just would be so bizarre. Because remember, the objective is still for survivors to like keep on scaring people, but they still gotta do the objective. So it's not gonna be like an impossibility. Like if you play against Mira Myers is still trying to stop people from doing gens, but is also having fun with it, you know. So yeah. That's my idea behind it. So I feel like if they make that thing a real ordeal, I think it'd be so sick. So, but Legion right now, as they are, they got nothing going for themselves, and that's an unfortunate situation. Plague, unfortunately, like same thing. Plague has nothing to be scary and spooky and undetectable. Like there's nothing for them. But weirdly enough, though, people really do enjoy using Plaything. People really like using Plaything with the killer. And the great thing about this too, though, is that there's a bunch of easy ways to effectively make her scary. Simplest one is to let her drink a fountain that's whatever, like poisoned or anything like that, right? You just drink a fountain and you're just undetectable. If the person drinks from the fountain, they're oblivious. Super easy to do that. and it should be long, like whatever the time duration is for it now, like it should be just long lasting. I'd even do a thing that it's similar to so there's like a brown add-on that the plague has where they can't infect people, but they can infect stuff. So you just infect stuff, and while you're infected doing stuff, then you're oblivious. Period. I don't know if I want to make it so you have to drink from the fountain so that you can. Let's do two different versions. Two different versions would be fine. Like if the brown version of that is that, you know, she can infect stuff, and if you touch the stuff while you're working on it, so like if you're doing a generator or healing, or not healing, if you're touching a generator or opening a chest or a totem, then while you do the totem, you're oblivious and blind. Period. Right? But when you stop touching it, then the status goes away in like 5 seconds, like Fearmonger does, because you shouldn't permanently get it with the brown version. But if there's a green version, then if you put the stuff on it, then you keep the infection, and then you got to go use fountains in order to uncleanse it, and then that's when you can have the obliviousness for like a long time while you're sick. But then once you uncleanse, then the obliviousness lingers for a while, and if the plague drinks from that fountain, then she gets the undetectable for like a super long time. And I think that there should be more than one version of it. There should be a way that she can basically kind of she should be the next killer that basically has 2 add-ons that allow her to play the spooky scary style. So the first add-on is that when she drinks from a fountain, she's undetected. When she drinks from the second add-on is that when she drinks from a fountain, she can see the aura of people. Is that what I want to say? Yeah, aura of people nearby within like 16 meters. So that way she just becomes Scratch Mirror Myers but she needs to drink the fountain in order to do it though. So, oh yeah, and also yeah, you're right. There's no indication either that she drinks from the fountain, because the only indication should be if you can see it that the aura of the fountain comes back. That's it. But I feel like a lot of people are not actively paying attention to things like that, so it's gonna really let her. It's gonna be like a small like downside for her, but it's gonna be so like inconspicuous even still that like people are not going to notice that a fountain just like, you know, came back because she cleansed over there and that she just gained undetectable and aura reading powers. 100%. Because that way you can kind of pick and choose and jump around how you want to do it. So like if you want to use one add-on that lets her be undetectable, you can use that add-on. If you want to use the other one that lets her see auras, boom, you can let her see auras. If you want to use the one that lets people be sick when they touch stuff and then they're oblivious and blind to it, you can do that too. That way you can kind of bounce around with it, because again, if you pick up the add-on where she's undetectable or can see auras, she still doesn't get to spit at you and do damage. Like, it's not going to work that way, right? She doesn't get to hit you with the spit and then actually hurt you while she has that power. She just gets the power. So it's not going to be like insanely broken for her to be able to like pick up, like if she only had the one add-on that lets her just see auras after she picks up the fountain drink, whatever, she's like she still can spit on stuff and then infect it, but she doesn't necessarily like, you know, get the black spit to hit you while she can see auras, because that'd be too annoyingly busted for her. But if they did it so that you can do it in the other way, I think that'd be sick. So it's kind of it's just alternate way. Yeah, it's just an alternate way of her being able to use fountains without it only having one focus in mind, because like Plague is in the bottom tier because she focuses on the same issue, or she has the same issue that Clown, Pig, and I guess now I'm saying it out loud, like Hag I guess has a problem too, even Trapper. Like they all have one use of their power. If they had multiple uses, I think that it would be super sick. Because even Trapper can have different traps. I don't even know why we didn't think about that sooner. Trapper should totally have different traps besides it just doing like one thing, and it's just a bear trap on the ground. Like there should be like a tripwire trap for the Trapper. 100%. It kind of functions similar, but the visual cue for it is different. I think that is what would be like a bigger ordeal. So, but Plague is unfortunately not in that mindset, so it's kind of unfortunate. Finally, we got ourselves a good scary killer. You know what I mean? Ghostface is gonna be up here guaranteed. So Plague pretty much depends on Sara's cleansing. Well, that's the other thing too, though. You kind of like, that's why you gotta like mix and match it so that, you know, with Plague at least you can have her benefit heavily from using the power, but if they don't use the fountain, then she can still benefit from being scary and spooky if like the they don't use it. So she kind of has to have a way to, she has to have like a backup plan basically. So I agree with that too. Listen, Ghostface is up here. You can't question me about it because it's very obvious. No questions asked. Ghostface is spooky scary in terms of how he can get the jump on you. The problem with it is that he has a way to get exposed by people, and it's a little bit jank for how it functions. Ghostface is crazy scary when it comes to him getting the jump on you and the expose and everything like that. He doesn't even need to expose you. The expose scares you, right? If he didn't have the expose and just kind of snuck up on you and got the hit on you, it would still scare you. So Ghostface is, I think honestly, Ghostface is even over here next to Myers. He's more scary than the Wraith without question, just because like build wise. The problem with Ghostface is that his add-ons don't really give him as much as like he like as he is right now. Like the killer is honestly in his own vibe, because the fact that he's able to get the jump on you cleanly is really sick. Like I love that, but he still has a way of getting exposed no matter what happens in the game. So like if you can play a careful Ghostface, then you can totally be like very, very scary, and it's amazing to deal with. But I don't want to take away the truth behind his prowess, because like I said, that killer is still scary like crazy, and it's amazing. So Ghostface is up there 100%. Now that definitely doesn't take him out of the opportunity though of being able to be scarier, because there's totally ways to affect the add-on so that he can be scarier. But I do want to give him his you know, his W for being like next to Myers on the scary scale for him existing in the game, period. Now the problem that I think people run into is that with Ghostface's powers, I'm kind of like zooming through them really quickly. Ghostface has really weird add-ons that don't help him be scarier, because his power is already scary. The power kind of lets him use the scary more frequently, but it doesn't really give him like a contingency perma-plan of being stealth at all times. Because also the thing that I learned is that if he misses the attack on you, then his stealth goes away. I actually did not know that for like quite a while. But that being said though, he does have so many ways to like increase his crouch movement speed, and to increase his speed while he's stalking you, and then reduce the amount of time it takes to get the exposed. I don't obviously want him to be able to necessarily like use the expose to a degree, because you know he's got to get the spook on people, right? So his add-ons currently let him heavily benefit from getting people exposed or him getting caught by people, right? That's okay, but I think that he should have add-ons that heavily allow him to thrive in a significantly more powerful environment the darker that the game allows him to like thrive in those environments. So definitely some ideas that I have. One that's very easy is that he can't expose you, but he can't be exposed. Easy. Like that's an easy purple add-on. So like no matter what happens, you just have to like look for him, and if he plays slow pace and he kind of figures out the nonsense, then he's obviously like wildly scary for that purpose. I think it'd be sick. I think also trying to think about what else I can think of. I'd like for him to be able to give you like a fake expose, like the screen just shakes, but instead of getting exposed you get like a different status, like oblivious or something, because he has one like that. Like you get exposed but you also get oblivious, or if you expose him you get oblivious. It shouldn't do that. What it should do, there should be an add-on that essentially he just hits you with the exposed and you're oblivious, but he obviously doesn't get the down on you. But the point of it is to not necessarily get the sneak up, it's to kind of like play the fool's game. So if you sneak up on him, right, you don't get to see where he is, So if he's like down the hallway, he can catch you with the aura thing, and he hits you with it, and you're on a generator. Then they might run away from you, or they might run to you. But I think the idea is that if he hits you with that like fake exposed into oblivious status, then like because people look at the meter more so than they look at the status on the right side, so they might not immediately realize that, oh wait, he didn't expose me, he hit me with oblivious, right? So but they see the meter on them and they're like, oh my god, I got exposed, so they run for it. But if you can there should be an add-on that lets them be oblivious and blind, but you can see their aura while they're exposed. I think that would be sick. And then when you get the hit, it goes away. So that's my mindset on that. I think that'd be so sick. Okay, you have a good idea. Let me see. If you stalk someone in open charge, in the open you charge your power. When your power is charged, you can use the ability button, which makes him can't stalk, but he can see through walls. Like instead of directly stalking charge in the open, he can just see through walls. Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, yeah, I mean, that's kind of the idea that I had just now. Like, if he has a power and he basically exposes you, quote unquote, then like, you can, they get oblivious and blind, you can see their aura, and like that's it. But also, because I think right now in the game, if he gets exposed, like let's say if he's crouching in a night shroud and he gets exposed by like a survivor, they get the killer instinct, so you can see where it's coming from, but like they can suffer from like a debuff as a result of exposing him. So like he can't get exposed, period. And the killer shouldn't get killer instinct if someone's looking at him. But the killer should be able to gain meter while they're like kind of stalking. So you can stalk the same way you do with Myers, right? You can just stalk and you can see people's auras, and if their aura gets red, I like the idea that you can trigger it versus it just activating at the 100, because you don't want to necessarily do it that way, because you want to kind of hold on to it to activate it. I think that'd be super sick. And like if there's two people at the same time working on a generator and they're both 100%, you activate it, they both get the exposed. That way you don't have to like mash it and like get them individually. You can just kind of pick and choose your battles, and then you can get the jump on them. I think that'd be so sick. I like that a lot. And yeah, like while they're exposed, I think the exposed may be okay to run a little longer than usual, but the purpose of it is that if you can see their aura and then crouch and hide and do stuff, then I think that would be super cool. Because then while the exposed meter is happening for them, like while the timer's like ticking down, they are 100% capable of having their aura be seen, they're oblivious, and their power, and they're blind. But once the killer hits them, then it goes away. And I don't even think that the meters for it should be charged up in the same way. I don't know how long it takes for the killer to expose somebody and get the full meter on them, but whatever the time is, it should be less, period. I would make it less time, so that way like you don't have to spend so much time stalking. You can just kind of immediately jump back into it, because you want to be able to activate the power like on will, or you rework it so that you can just gain meter, and instead of having the power be effective on the person, you just have the power. But you can at least put it on multiple people if they're all in the same area. No, I like it I like if it's individual actually, and you just activate it, and if they're all in the same area, then you can do that. Actually, I like that more. So never mind. I would prefer that people have the meter gained on them, and they can't see the meter obviously, but the killer can. Yeah, I like that more so. Because the killer should just be able to 100% do that. I think that'd be sick. I like that actually. That's a really, really cool idea. Is there anything else comes to mind? I don't think so actually. That's honestly it though. Like the number one thing for him is that like he should just be able to effectively like see auras, be oblivious and blind, while effectively hitting people with the power. But he can't expose people, and he can't be seen by people either. I think because like that's the problem that he has currently, is that he can get exposed. They should honestly, like, kind of like half side note, they should rework that power that happens with him, where like him getting exposed really shouldn't be a thing in this game for him, because I mean, I get it though, it like works, but I think I'm actually okay with him not doing that for him, because he should just try to be stealthy as often as possible. But like I get it though, because never mind. I mean, that's just me like freeballing, honestly. Because I feel like people think that Ghostface is like not a good killer because of the fact that you can expose him and whatnot, but he has add-ons that let him regain the power. But there should just be ways for him to regain the power more frequently and not run into that problem. But I'm only thinking out like that for like a moment, because I feel like people think that Ghostface isn't good. So I'd rather have you yeah, I think it's better to stun him out of it, but like not reveal him. Like the revealing part really kills his whole vibe sometimes. Plus I think that like if the add-ons for him to like not expose but but to debuff people, if that was a real thing, people would use that like all the time because it would make him so much more effective and fun to play at the same time. Period. So Ghostface number 2 guaranteed already. Love it. Okay, now we got demo. Man, here's the thing, demo actually has add-ons in this game and things in his kit that allow him to oblivious people and be undetectable when he comes out of the portal. So he already has stuff that allows it to work for him, but I'm wondering how can you make it become even more effective? Like he has stuff. I think because there's already like I said, there's already an add-on in the game that when he teleports and he gets out of the portal, he's undetectable. Like he has that already. They should just buff that add-on so that you can't hear him teleporting. You can't. I also think that there should be something that allows him to I think he also already has an add-on where if people are either trying to destroy the portal or if they're near the portal, then you can see the aura of the people. I gotta look that up actually. I'm kind of curious. I actually do not know if that's something that he has. So if I can see here, I'm thinking it's an add-on, but it's just a base kit. Oh, okay. I truly have no idea. I haven't actually played the killer enough to like really know. So when you're upside down, when you're viewing a portal, you can after emerging from a portal, he's undetectable for 3 seconds. His base kit. Okay, I see that. That's a thing. People that are walking on top of the portal or trying to seal it are oblivious while trying to seal it or sitting on top of it. Okay. Opening ton of portals, opening speed of portals, detection range, sealing time, reversing speed, more portals. Shows the aura of generators while being repaired in yellow while traversing through the upside down. No. Survivors trying to step or touch a portal get blindness. That's not bad actually. Oh, he has a green add-on that increases the duration of his status coming out of the portal by half a second, which is not good. He has one where he's undetected for additional 3 seconds, so he has 6 seconds. That's also not bad. And then he has one where you see, so he has an actual red add-on. His iridescent add-on gives him undetectable for 11 seconds, which you include base kit plus the actual add-on, and it removes all noises that the Demogorgon makes while coming out of a portal. So I think the problem is that you can still hear him coming out of the portal, but the sound of which portal he's coming out of, that's hidden. So the iridescent needs to be buffed so that you can't hear him going in or out of a portal. He's undetectable for more than 11 seconds. It should be like 30. Yeah, that's it. Because the other iridescent add-on reveals the auras of all survivors while he's upside down. So it is okay that he has his iridescent add-on lets you already make it a thing. So he already has both Eries let him do exactly what he should be doing. I don't want to combine those two together. They should be combined together, but it's okay that they're not. I'm kind of on the iffy side of it, but yeah, it is a confirmed thing that while he's coming out of a portal, he's undetected for 11 seconds, and he makes no noise coming out of a portal. But the time it takes for him to come out of the portal is longer, and that's the small caveat to it that makes it a little bit not as good. But he can see the aura of people while he's upside down, traversing through the portal, and when he comes out of it. So while he's upside down teleporting, his aura, he can see everybody's aura. When he comes out of the portal, he can see the aura for 3 seconds when he comes out of the portal. that's honestly fine. Like those two iridescents together is exactly what he needs, but the one red moss add-on needs to be buffed so that he's undetected for longer times and you don't hear him at all coming out of a portal, going into a portal, nothing. You shouldn't hear anything that lets him do that. And I think if they did that, then that would definitely jump him up from being what I currently would say is C tier. He'd be A tier guaranteed. He wouldn't be S tier, but he'd be A tier for sure. I think another add-on that I'm so shocked doesn't exist in this is anything that happens to people after they finish sealing a portal. If somebody like seals a portal, then they should get oblivious and it lingers for a minute, or the killer is undetected for a minute. Actually, scratch that. The killer is undetected once he finds out a person sealed the portal, and the person who sealed the portal, or people, they are not exposed. They have their aura revealed for like 5 seconds, I would say. So I think that as a result, though, because like no, I think Demo sits in C tier. I don't know how you like end up in D. He's a C tier killer for the scariness of it. Because the problem is, like, again, he already has an add-on that allows him to be spooky, and so as a result, you kind of have to play with other, like, there's already, thankfully in this game, there are perks and builds and stuff that allow him to do the thing that makes him scary. So it works, because when you hear him stomping, when you don't hear anything but you hear him stomping, it's pretty freaking scary. So I think that, like, honestly, I'd even put him in B tier because of the add-ons, like, low-key, because like he actually has very, very, like, there's definitely a build that you can create and it'll exist. He has the kit, but the execution for it is a huge mess in practice. So I wouldn't put him C tier because the kit doesn't not exist. Like, the kit exists for him and it works, but it needs to work a lot more effectively for him to really benefit from it, because he can see the auras, and he's undetectable, so he has the things. It just doesn't work well enough, I think. So I think I'd actually put him at B tier, but he's like on the cusp of B and C, so he's like a low B, like a high C, but he can do it though. But people don't play that because the problem, I think, is that, like, that build or that kit doesn't work well for him to, like, win the games, because, like, all the other killers that are up here, from Doctor and up, everybody has the potential to actually, like, you know, get a merciless. Like, they can kill everybody in the game with their powers alone, and it's fine. Or even for, like, the spookiness of it all too. So I think that's what it is. Like, Demo has the potential, but, like, it's just not really the best potential. It could be a lot better. So, and it would be helpful for him to basically figure out more ways to cover more of the field with Oblivious, or him being undetected. Because I don't want every killer to have the ability to see the auras while they're also undetected. That'd be great, but it's not necessary. I think another add-on that you could use, just kind of like spitballing it here, is where you can't see the portals. Or the portals close. No, I don't know. I was thinking that the portals can't be seen by the killer, or can't be seen by survivors, so they can't be cleansed per se. But, like, he gets to, like, use them and be undetectable for, like, even longer or something. I don't know. I can't think of it too much. But, or no, that's what it was. You can't see the portals, but if you're in the area of the portal, then, like, you have to, like, you know, you can't cleanse it, so you, like, effectively sit on it and then you can seal it. But if you can't find or sit on it, then, like, the area that's being infected by the portal gives people debuffs like Oblivious and Blindness and that kind of stuff. That way you have a chance to find it if you can find it. But if you can't find it and you're getting debuffed, then you're gonna spend too much time trying to find it. That's what I would say. But in a nutshell, there's Demo. Oni. Where does Oni sit on the scale? I gotta look for his kits. Because here's the thing. Oni has an ability to track down people. Because he's got that one add-on where their auras are exposed if they like touch an orb, which is cool. But I don't think that he's got anything that lets him be like undetectable. Because there is an add-on where if you're injured and the orbs are invisible to the survivors, it's the iridescent one. Oh no, that's not what it is. It's backwards. The blood orbs are visible to survivors, and if they touch the orb, their aura gets revealed for 2 seconds. But if they touch multiple orbs, then the aura stacks. But I think the problem though is that the killer doesn't have a way to be undetectable. I think that's the issue. So I think the easy way to make it is that you can give him stealth when he gains enough blood. Or if the meter hits like a certain threshold. Like I don't think it should be maxed. Like I think he should still go red and scream, maybe, but he's undetectable instead of like. And I'd even also like low key, I think I'd even let him keep the dash attack. But you can't hear him stomping as loudly. Like I think I would reduce the sound of his stomping. I'd let him keep the dash attack and him go red and go crazy about it, but you don't get instantly down from it. And I think that he is able to, like, he does everything as normal, but he just doesn't get to one tap you. He's just invisibly like moving about very quickly, because I think it'd be better for him to like do it versus him trying to like not increase his movement speed. Like we don't want to take away killer's movement speed so that they can be invisible all the time. So I think for Oni, it'd be really sick for him to actually be able to maintain his speed, but just can't one-shot you. Or if he should just be able to also break a door or something and then get it too. That'd be sick. Because like you can use like, you know, because again like perks like what's it called? Darkness Revealed. Like if he like checks a locker and then the auras are revealed by people who are like near lockers, that'd be kind of fine, honestly. But for his kit as a whole, add-on wise, yeah, he should be able to collect blood and then become invisible. Or even more so, if he maintains a certain amount of blood. Oh, I like that too. Okay, wait, there's two ideas. So the first idea is the one I mentioned earlier. If he gets enough blood, then he can run around and zip all over the place undetectably, but he can't one-shot you with the club, period. That's the first add-on. The second add-on is when he holds enough blood, like let's say he has 80% of his meter filled, he can activate it at a certain point and it'll go down, but he gets undetectable. But he can use an action ability that lets him track auras of people, but it uses the blood to track the auras. But as a result, though, he can't move fast. I like that. I think that's actually really sick, because that way you can have him use aura stuff on will. Like he can, like it goes down very slowly if he's just using it to be undetectable. But if he's using it to track auras, then he can treat it like a Mirror Myers vibe and then just do that. I like that a lot, actually. So he'll have two different ways of doing it. He can be undetected and scary in the fast way, and he can be undetected and tracking in the slow way. I think that's actually sick. So you can make his ability give him, oh yeah, see, great minds think alike, actually. Yeah. So I like that. I like the idea of having two different add-ons that do it. So there's the ideas for that. But I think that because of how we talked about it, I think though, like the killer runs into the problem of like he screams and he still has his aura, or not his aura, his terror radius like going about. But the thing is that the time it takes for him to effectively get the jump on you, you get to hear the aura for like 2 seconds and then he gets the hit on you. So I think as a result, he's C tier, because he's the same thing as like with Billy, but Billy has the ability to go undetected while running. He doesn't have that, but he still gets to jump on you, but the jump is a lot easier to like see coming than the nurses, but it's not impossible for him to not get to jump on you like these folks can. I think I'd even put him behind Spirit. So this is where I put Oni. So yeah, he needs add-ons to work, but with his normal kit and everything he has, like perk wise, if you build him out and kind of let him get the rundown going, he actually can still get the spook on some people, but it's really difficult because you can still kind of hear him coming like a mile away. But it's not bottom tier though. He's probably C tier, I'd say. Then we got Deathlinger. I'm gonna be very honest with you. My heart tells you he's up here. That's my heart telling you that. But I think, in a manner of speaking, and to give him credit where it's due, he's top A. Here's the reason why. Because he has an add-on that lets him aim down the sight of the gun, and while he's aiming the sight of the gun, the radius goes away like a little bit. So it's you got to be really close. Like there needs to be like a rock between the two of you for the radius to activate while he's aiming on the gun and like looking for somebody. So you can use that, but it doesn't really matter because he has the same caveat that like Huntress has, except the sound of the hit is way louder and it can definitely be used on a huge basis. So because like Huntress and Deathlinger work the same way in terms of how they kind of get their powers activated, right? She throws a hatchet and she preps it and she throws it, right? He just rips the gun out. And if I'm not gonna lie to you, because there is actually a build that I have seen get used, and that's why my heart puts him at S tier. The build was he had the ADS add-on, the green one, and he had Insidious. Listen, the Insidious Deathlinger thing, yo, that's a real thing, and it's wildly scary. I was in RPD when he had that build, and I was working on the generator outside, and he was on the top of the by the stairwell near the helipad by the helicopter. He was up there and he aimed at me, and I didn't think to look up there. I was kind of like, I had my camera low, but he had Insidious, so it was undetected, and he shot me from that far away. And I kid you not, like I had to go change my shorts after that. It was wild. So that perk alone, with him using his kit as it is, that's scary enough already. So it's crazy. But I feel like the affectation of it is like not too crazy once you figure it out. So I think, but that doesn't take his luster away at all. He's still up there. I don't think that he has anything outside of, I don't think he has anything to make him undetectable, but he has a ton of things that really let him get the jump on people, which is crazy. So that jump up on the people kind of thing is the thing that really, really works for him. Because, you know, most of his powers with his add-ons let him, you know, reload faster. He can bring you in closer. If you get hit by the gun and you get hit, then you also have a debuff with it. But he has an add-on that for sure lets him increase the or decrease the terror radius. So, and there's a bunch of those too. And so I think like if you literally get to combine those two, it's actually pretty nuts. And there is like an undetectable status that he actually, you know what's crazy though, the Deathlinger actually has an undetectable add-on, but the way that it works isn't good, because you're undetected for as long as the survivor is getting hit by the gun. So like if I hit you with it while I'm reeling you in, I'm undetected, but when I hit you with the gun, the undetectable lasts only 10 seconds longer after I get the hit, or the chain breaks from, so there's just not enough time. So it's not really that crazy. It works, but like it needs to work better. So his add-ons actually, it's kind of crazy though, because his add-ons actually don't give him the justice that's necessary for him to really be scary. The gun by itself does what's needed to be scary. So 100% I put Deathlinger in that category. He's definitely scary as F when he uses the gun appropriately. So it's actually pretty freaking crazy. So I love it. I think that you know, his gun is like sick. Duslinger 100% deserves to be A tier. Now, of course, thinking about it as well, how you can make it scarier is very easy. You take the iridescent one that he has, and you just give him the ability to ADS, and he's instantly undetectable. Like not even like not even insidious like 3 seconds. The second the gun is up, that man is gone. I think also he should be able to see auras while he's ADSing, because you know the gun, like it zooms it in, so like you get the field of view, right? But then when he ADSs it, it narrows it down. But while he narrows it down and aiming, then you should be able to see the thing, like the aura of anybody that's straight within like a 20 something meter, I would say, radius. So that way you can really like mess with people. That's the only thing that he needs. Straight up, that's it. I don't know if he's an oblivious one if the spear breaks, but if there isn't one, he needs that too. But that's the only thing it needs. You just take that one add-on, you buff it so that when he ADSs, he can see auras, and he's also completely undetectable. W. That's it. So then we got Pyramid Head. Okay, here's a problem with Pyramid Head though. Pyramid Head, like, he has an undetectable. He has one. I think it's his iridescent actually. Like when you're standing on the trail, I think it is, you're undetected. But it's when he's standing on it. And the problem is that like you don't really get to use the trail to stay undetected. It like doesn't really work. So he can't really be undetected while running around the whole map. He has to specifically stand on his trail, and that's it. And the second he gets off the trail, it lasts like 2 seconds. So like it's just a really bad add-on. I mean, I think Pyramid Head, I would hate to put him in D tier. And I think it's because he unfortunately does have the ability to be undetectable and also inflict oblivious and blindness. Like he has it. So I want to put him in C tier. I'm gonna put him in C tier for now until we talk about it. Because the thing is that if you give him Plaything or any way to like oblivious people without giving them the hit or even like the down, then like when you don't hear the shots coming from his sword, yo, that thing, it comes out of nowhere and it's a jump scare and it works. But the thing is, like, I think you can still hear it coming no matter what's happening. So it's really complicated for him to effectively work the way that I would like for him to work. Because the problem is that he has things that allow him to trail more on the floor, and he has ways to increase the ability for it to last longer in the environment. But it just doesn't last long enough for him, or it's not spacious enough either for him to effectively use it in that way. Because like the second he stands off the trail, like the power is gone, so it sucks. Here is what I would propose. So I think I'm gonna because he has the ability to hit people from afar, I'm gonna put him in C tier. Because it's not impossible for him to be undetectable or like hide. Because you can insidious wait for the unhook and then you get the double hit and it works. It works. So he doesn't have a zero option of being undetected even without any add-ons. Like he can do it. It's just weird. But he totally can do so many things to allow him to maintain it and make that iridescent work a lot better. Here's what I think that they should do. There should be 2 changes to him that give him like a buff in a way that works, and here's what it is. The first buff that he should get at base kit level is that either one of 2 things. Either one, the ability to put the trails down lasts a lot longer, or they stay permanent. I feel like permanent might be a little bit broken because like if you get what's it called? If you get tormented, then like it's just really easy for him to kind of just go ham on it. So I don't want to really give him the power to be broken with having it be permanent. But like I think if you think about Midwich, because that's like his level, obviously, right? Like Midwich is his place. If you can use a trail to cover one corner of a hallway to another corner, and that's the full amount of the trail. I think that he should be able to cover 3 hallways worth with the trail. Not 4, just 3 hallways. So you can basically do like a U shape of the hallway inside the hill map, and that's how much trail he can cover. If you try and start drawing the 4th line of the hallway, then it starts to kind of detract a bit. But that's in total though. That's not just like a 1-line ordeal, right? That's in total. So he can essentially cover 2 lines. He can cover 1 full hallway length with the power, and then cover another hallway length on the downstairs. That way he can kind of mix and match and change his spots. But I think the other thing is that he is able to, like, if he uses the trail, I'm okay with him like either stepping on the trail to be undetectable, but it needs to linger a lot longer and reset when he steps on the trail. I'm okay with that though. Like Hag's traps limit. Yeah, I mean no, like in general though. Like he the trail doesn't the trail doesn't stay up forever. It eventually goes away, I think, after some amount of time. I don't know the exact time though, but I think it goes away after like 30 seconds or something like that. Or is that true actually? I don't actually know. Hold on. Does it ever? It goes away. It totally goes away. I've never seen the trail get put on the ground and it's always there. I might be wrong. Wait, I might be wrong actually. You gotta confirm with me now, because I actually have no idea. Because I play Pyramid Head, but like, no, there is a lifetime. Yeah, the time that it lasts is 75 seconds. Okay, I figured it out. I knew it wasn't permanent. So yeah, the trail on the floor lasts 75 seconds, which is a minute and a quarter, which is just not enough time. So, actually, you know what? It is enough time as long as like the amount of trail that he can cover is what works. That's what it is. Because I don't think he can cover a lot of ground with it. It lasts a minute and a half, but that's fine though. Because I think like in order for his power to work, then like he has to keep on reforming the trail. Like that's the bottom line of it. Like he's not supposed to just put the trail down one place and then never use it again kind of vibe. He should be always using the trail. Because I think that like, okay, let's talk about the nitty gritty for you. I don't know, that's 30 seconds. I mean that's fine. I think like base kit though, like I just wasn't sure if it was permanent or not. But the fact that it does have like a time limit, that's fine. I just wanted to get that confirmation. So here's how we buff his add-ons to make him jump from C to A or even S tier. So simply put, when he puts down the trail with the add-on, right? He'll have an add-on for this, of course. When he puts down the trail, we're going to use the iridescent as an example, right? When he stands on the trail, and if he makes a trail and he stands on it, it just is. Right. I would honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you, I'd even give him, no, I don't want to give him a speed boost. Well, maybe not that. Let's do this. If you have the iridescent down, if a survivor is running on it, they're hindered only while the time that they're on the trail. Once they're off the trail, it goes away. Period. But while he's on the trail, the killer is undetectable. When he gets off the trail, he's undetectable for 30 seconds. That will be the lingering effect for it. It lasts 30 seconds when he is undetectable. Yeah. That's good, because then he can just stand on it again and then it resets the timer, because that's the idea. The idea should be that he should reset the timer for when he's undetected 100%. And I think that like while people are on the trail, their aura is revealed the entire time they're on the trail and they're hindered. But the second that they're off the trail, then both of them go away instantly, because he shouldn't really be tracking that much easily with like that idea in mind. So I think I like that a lot, actually. That would be the thing that he needs. Just give him the ability to use the trail longer, more effectively, so that he's undetected for a lot longer while he's doing stuff. I think it's actually cool that he can like put the sword in the ground and be stealthy too for that, but I don't want them to take away the sound that it makes when he's drawing on the floor, because that sound should always be there, because it just makes sense. Like, how are you going to put a sword in the ground and like draw a trail and it doesn't make sound? That just wouldn't make sense. So it should, that sound effect of it drawing on the floor should always be there. But while he walks on the trail, even the sword, if it's drawing, because you know when the sword is being dragged on the floor, it also makes the sound of it like dragging on the floor. But if he's on the trail, then you can't hear the sword dragging on the floor either, because you know technically it's not on the floor. Even if he's like walking sideways, like it's fine, you know. So I think that's literally all that he needs. Yeah, that's it. Just make it so that he can see people when they're on the trail, and the trail lasts longer while he's doing it too, period. Because then if he puts, honestly, I would actually, yeah, I think I said it already, right? When he's walking down the trail, he's undetected and you can hear the sword dragging on the floor. So when he's on a trail and he puts the sword down to shoot the thing, then you can't hear the sword go into the ground. And if you shoot out of the trail, it shoots faster and farther. That way the hit is a jump scare. But I also don't want him to be able to like just shoot people through the walls and get like guaranteed downs. I think that would be so annoying. But I think like that's literally it. He can just shoot from the ground. You can't hear it coming, but it's faster and it hits longer. But when he's on the trail, he's undetectable for 30 seconds if he's off the trail, and he resets if he's on the trail. And if the survivor's on the trail, they're hindered for like a little bit, and their aura is revealed while they're running on the trail, and it doesn't linger after that at all. That's it. There you go. Because I don't think that there's anything else that needs to be added either, though, because his power is very easy and very simple. Even if you put them in the cage, you know what, actually that's not true. I actually like this more, because he also has another iridescent where if he puts someone in the cage, everyone else who's put under who gets hit by the torment, they get revealed. Honestly, he can just keep that. I wanted to buff that, but I don't think we need to. I think it's honestly just good as it is. Or rather, they buff it so that no matter whether people are tormented or not, if you put someone in the cage, everyone's aura gets revealed for 10 seconds instead of 6 seconds. I think that's what I like. Yeah, I like that. I mean, that's pretty much it, honestly. I would just buff the other iridescent. And then after that, though, that man would be cracked and scary. That'd be good. Okay. Now we got the blight. The blight's kind of a weird one, because it's honestly it's pretty stressful low-key when he's sprinting at you. It really can be. It can be pretty stressful when he's just running at you. And you can like hear him coming. The problem though is that I feel like he runs into this issue where he needs to bounce off of walls to like do the thing that he needs to do. So like I kind of get it, because like he has a thing where if he slams into the wall, then he can see the auras of people near where he hit the wall, which is cool. He also does have an undetectable while he's running. which is cool. So like he has it, but I don't think people use it enough to really like let it function, because the two add-ons actually work really well. Like he's undetected while rushing, and he can see the aura of anybody nearby while they're rushing. But I mean, those two don't work together because it only really works if like you I feel like if you're gonna do that, it has to be like a longer duration actually. I'm trying to think though. You know what, actually? The add-on by itself is like fine. The problem is that the way that the killer functions as a kit really doesn't make it easy for him to use that add-on. But I think the beauty behind it is he's actually just like Hillbilly. Because Hillbilly can run the chainsaw from a distance and he's undetectable while rushing. The only problem with the Blight is that he has to refresh his rush by hitting a wall, which is not a problem. So I think in technical truth, he's A tier in terms of how that works. But because here's the thing, if you want to get technical, if you use that purple add-on that makes him undetectable while rushing, and the one where he uses the iridescent one so that he can instantly down you, he's literally Hillbilly with that power. The only difference is that he's got a little freaking axe thing instead of a chainsaw, and he has to hit the wall in order to like do the thing. So technically speaking, he should be right next to Hillbilly, but I think that he's gonna go over here next to Huntress. I think it actually would be scarier because he literally turns into Hillbilly with that build 100%. But I think that people currently just don't play Blight that way, and I'll be honest with you, I have never seen that add-on get used ever by a Blight. Even when I played Blight, I never used that add-on because I just didn't know how it worked in a way of speaking. So I think the problem currently with Blight is that add-on just doesn't work, period. But it's also kind of like an L because people just don't use that add-on either. If people use the add-on and it works, I need like a live match where I can see it work. Because here's the problem with the Blight as a whole as well. The Blight has to rush into the wall in order to activate it in general, right? Like you're undetectable obviously when you start to run the first time through, but you can't even hit somebody until you actually hit the wall. So that's also like a small caveat that the Blight runs into with that add-on. Like if the add-on was buffed where he can charge the rush once and doesn't have to hit the wall, and he can hit you, and he has to charge up and then try and do it again. You know, he can't spam it obviously, but he should be able to at least just run at you and just hit you without necessarily needing to hit a wall and then do it again. That would make him a lot more like Hillbilly on an A tier level without needing a lot of, like, he won't need time. He can just do it. That would be the big difference between the two of them right there. But I think that if you want to technically put him in the scary level, the add-on that he has and the way that he functions with the sprint, like, it's already scary enough when you hear him coming, but the fact that you can make him undetectable and give people like other statuses that like third seal and playtime or plaything and all the other specific abilities too, those in combination work so well together for him that I think that like people underestimate how strong as hell that can be on a scary level. But I think the problem is that nobody currently is using that enough to like put it to practice. So people are going to need to practice it. But I think Blight is definitely up there as being a scary killer. So there you go. Then we got Charlotte and Victor, aka the twins. Now I think effectively speaking, they're actually like on the upper echelon of it, because the twins actually have stuff that let them like handle the business. Because I don't think people actually know this about Victor, but Victor actually like has an add-on that's a yellow add-on that lets him run around quietly. When you if you charge the pounce, he can like sneak around quietly. Yo, I can't even lie to you how many times that has like caught me off guard, because he has a yellow add-on that lets him be undetectable while he's like pounced and ready to charge, but he also has a green add-on that lets him like move a little bit faster. So I actually like that a lot. He actually has two. I think he has a green one and a purple one. So you can just use that one, basically. You use the purple add-on and the yellow one, and all of a sudden you have little freaking demon demon Victor running around like crazy. She also has an undetectable, where if she wakes up from being if you're like running around with Victor, when you go back to Charlotte, she's undetectable for 20 seconds. Which is sick. The only problem is that her walking sound is loud as hell, because she has like stuff on her person. Because she kind of attacks with like a hook sword thing kind of vibe, but she has like stuff. It almost feels like she's like a pot and like a pan in her hand that like makes noise while she walks around. Or no, she has like a backpack, like like a hiking kit on her back, so she literally makes noise while she walks around. But like, besides that though, she actually has a very effective kit that really allows her to do the business, to be the stealth killer. So like I said, I think people don't ever see twins enough to know this, but she kind of comes up here in terms of the scary scale, because of the fact that Victor is a little freaking creeper and literally can like kind of roam through grass and just hits you with the nonsense, because he doesn't make noise when you fully charge the pounce. He doesn't make noise, he just walks around. So the only way you know that he's nearby is when you see him visually with his eyes, or the or you see his little form. And then also Charlotte has the ability to be undetectable also. So like, they actually have a lot of things in their kit that let them function. Now I think though, if we're gonna put it into full practice, like, you gotta buff him up a bit, and her too, for it to like work effectively. Because that's the thing though, like, their kit literally, not a base kit, but their kit in terms of add-ons, they have ways to blind survivors and like inflict, oblivious, which I think is so sick. And the way that they have it functioning too is also very unique. So I want to give credit where it's due for the twins. Twins have a lot of ways to be able to effectively catch people off guard, but I think that the complexity of playing the killer in general makes it a little bit harder for them to not be at the A tier, but they're not incapable to be put at the C or D tier. I think I would actually effectively put them kind of in between Nurse and Blight. Well, I put them above, like, past Nurse. I think I put it like this. I think this is how it would be, because like I said, Twins has the ability to do it. It's not hard for them. It's actually pretty easy. They have multiple ways of doing it as well, but because of the fact that they their kit as a whole is complicated, that might put it a little bit on a tougher side. Now I think the easiest way to buff it is that instead of Victor should get a buff here. Okay, it's gonna sound really annoying, but it is for the sake of the spook. The amount of time that Victor can pounce and like get attached to a person, the jump should be very, very quick. And also, you shouldn't have to charge the jump in order to be quiet. The second that Victor is out, both of them are undetectable. Like she can go to a corner, she'll bring out Victor. Victor can hide through anywhere he wants to and just like, be a little freaking creeper good, right? The second that like, the attack is ready, boom, it just activates. Like, it's like a quick, like, half 1, 2, 3, boom. Like, it should be very quick for him to get the jump. So I feel like that's the capability for it. So with that respectfully saying though, I put Twins at B tier because like the way how it is now already is pretty scary. They have the ability to easily make it a lot scarier, and I think that with Twins in mind, I think it works for them perfectly well. So there's that. Okay, then you got Trickster. Here's the thing about Trickster though. He's so annoying by design and functionality that he can't possibly be a stealth killer, or he can't be a spooky killer at all either. Like, there's just no way. And I think realistically that's like a huge downfall for him, So I think with Trickster, it's going to be really, really complicated to effectively make him a stealth killer. And I haven't seen anybody play him in any way that allows him to like do what's necessary to like add to the fear, because a majority of his add-ons let him have more blades, they move faster, he throws them faster, he moves faster while throwing them. The event thing that he does, like his superpower, whatever that it is, right, it lasts longer. The amount of time it takes for him to fill the meter for throwing the knives at a person lasts longer. He reloads them faster, you know. That's literally it. And also they bounce off of walls. That's all that his powers are. He also, we talked about this before too, he has an add-on where essentially if the meter gets full from the killer, then you get exposed, which is so weird to me. And we talked about this too. I think it's so weird that he has the ability to like get the jump on people with the knives. Because the problem is like when you know it's a trickster and you hear the radius of the terror radius getting a little bit like more loud by the moment, you just got to make a run for it and just try to because the thing is like it's impossible to like get away from a trickster. You can only delay the inevitable. So Trickster just literally has to do whatever's necessary to eventually catch you, and then once he catches you, he puts you on a hook, and then that's literally it. So now that with that being said though, there's obviously a lot of different ways that we can essentially give him the undetectable and the aura reading and all that other fun stuff, but I don't want him to necessarily like keep using his power while also being hard to detect. I think that would just be weird. So here's what I would propose. I think that an add-on that he needs is like while he's at the ready to because you know you got to activate the mode to like throw the knives. You don't get to just start throwing them whenever. You got to actually like put the bat away and then take out the knives while they're out, undetectable, right? When the meter starts to fill as you throw the knives on people, then they get oblivious and blind, right? That's it. So that way he at least can apply the debuffs on you, but then he can figure out how to like go somewhere else, right? And then I mean I don't want them to change. It's complicated because I don't want them to change his main event thing so that he's just undetectable and can track auras. I don't want them to like change the power in its entirety, because then it defeats the purpose of the killer being the killer in the first place, right? But the problem is that the killer already by themselves has such an issue with just existing as a whole that like it's hard to make him undetectable without kind of rinsing and repeating a lot of the things we've already tried before. Because you can obviously just like make an add-on where you reduce the number of blades he has from like 40 or 50 whatever to like 10, and then he'll throw them wherever, and then he's undetectable while he has no knives, right? And then he runs around and he handles the business. Like that's a little bit too commonplace for everybody who needs to reload through the locker or has to like expose of the or get rid of the items to get the status, you know what I mean? So I think I'd rather him have the ability to like reduce the number of knives he has, but he should still try to like use the knives to build the pressure, and then once that pressure is finalized, then the like a debuff activates. So you know what he should do then? He should because again, like I said, we're going to have to copy somebody else's affectation. His power should turn into the theoretical ghost faced one we talked about, where instead of the meter filling and then the expose happens, you press a button to activate it. So when you throw knives and the meter gets full, then the meter is full. When you activate it, then you get a bunch of debuffs, and then when the debuffs activate, then the meter will go down on the person on their HUD to indicate that that's how much time is left for it to like works. So I think if you do that, then that might be the thing that like works for him. because then that way they get the oblivious, they get blind, the aura can be exposed, and then it gives them a reason to like hide and run from the killer, and the killer can go in with the swing despite them being colored in neon. Yeah, I mean the diamond cufflinks isn't really gonna help because all that it does is like it's the same thing as the iridescent photo card, where if they're one hit away from being like the meter being full and breaking them, whatever, like they get their aura revealed. Like that's okay, but like it shouldn't be about like, because he shouldn't be keeping pressure on the people by throwing knives at them. He should just use the knives to build the meter on them, and then activate the kill switch button, if you will, when the meter's full. So it should be the same thing as Ghostface, because I don't think anybody else has that same affectation of like, oh, when you feel the meter on a thing, then they can do the thing to like activate the crazy. So I think that because Ghostface, I think so far in all the listing of what we have, is the only killer who has that, it's okay if Trickster is the second killer out of the the list of 23 so far that have the ability to do that. I think that'd be really sick actually. So because he also has an add-on that lets him throw the knives through people, and also they can bounce over things as well. So I think what would be really cool is if I don't want the thing to go through walls. I think they'd be busted. But I like the idea that it can go through people. So like maybe. So I don't know. Because the problem is like the killer, if the killer is gonna be undetectable and doing stuff, then like he just can't main event. I think that's how I feel about it. I think he just can't really main event at all. Like he just can't use the power. The power is pointless to use if his idea is to be spooky and scary. But I think as a result though, maybe to counterbalance it in a way, he just has unlimited knives. He still has to reload them, but like not at a locker, but like he just kind of like pulls them up again, and because again the idea I think for him is that the power, because okay, I think that he, like I said, he'll pull out the knives and he's undetected. He uses the power of the knives being up and undetected to start catching people off guard and hitting them with the knives. When the meter gets full, he puts the knives away, right? And then when he activates the button, then they get the debuffs. As a result, it allows him to get the hits on people and catch them off guard. I think like that would be the best way to go about it, because that way he doesn't always use the knives to do, because the knives aren't going to do damage. The knives are just going to apply the debuff. I even would say that you can combine, because I want it to be combined with other add-ons. So I think that you can actually combine this theoretical add-on with the iridescent one, so that they're blind, oblivious, exposed, and the killer's undetected. But I think that like the meter, like I think that as the meter fills it to a certain point, then the deepest can be applied. Because I feel like, let me rephrase that then. So like if the meter is like a 1/4% full, you can press the button on the survivor. If the meter's a 1/4% or a quarter full, then you can give them blindness, period. If the meter is like 75%, then they get oblivious. No matter what happens, when you activate it, you get undetectable, like straight up. But I think like while the meter's getting full, then you can activate more debuffs on the person, and that way you don't just automatically get to expose them too. But I think that because I think that people are going to want to run it with the exposed, and it's going to sound very cracked. So maybe we shouldn't give them unlimited knives. Maybe we take that out. But I don't want them to necessarily use the main event to do the same thing, because that shouldn't be a thing. So I think what the main event should do, you know what, actually the main event should let him recover knives without going into a locker. That should just be an add-on in general. Instead of him activating main event to just throw unlimited knives for like 10 or 15 seconds, whatever that it is, he just gets to recover knives guaranteed. Like not a bunch, but like it uses, like the more that he generates a main event, the more knives it gives him. So like I think if the main event's like at 50%, he gets half the knives back. There's an add-on for that? Is there actually? Which one? Well, no, there's an iridescent that if he finishes the main event, he gets the knives back. And that's not what I wanted to do. I don't want to do that. That'd be obnoxious. Well, it'd be okay. Here's the thing. I think that they should rework that add-on so that you only get a percentage of knives back based on how much of the like you should, because like you shouldn't go into main event. Like the killer should just not go into main event. The killer should just activate. It should change from being like a form to being like a button. So you just press it, and then whatever percentage you have of main event while you're charging it up kind of vibe, that's how much knives you get back percentage wise. So like if you have 50 knives and you get 50% of the meter back, then you automatically guarantee get 25 knives back, period, right? I think that's what it should do. So if you get 100% of the meter full and you press the button, you get all your knives back. Yeah, that's fine. The thing is, like, both of Trickster's iridescent add-ons are not good because of the pressure that you can apply by, like, it's much easier and faster to just throw knives constantly on a person and down them than to just fill the knives up and hit them a couple of times to build a meter and then hit them. Like, it's just way faster to just keep on throwing knives at them. Like, that's what his power thrives on. So I think the reason why that iridescent add-on exists in the first place is to like reduce the necessity of the killer to go to lockers to replenish the knives. But because there's perks that let you benefit from reloading at a locker, like Iron Maiden and Darkness Revealed, all that other stuff, like now there's just no reason to run that add-on when it's just more effective. You get more stuff, you get more value out of replenishing the knives at a locker than to just not go to a locker and use that add-on. That's why nobody uses it. We had a match one time where like the killer brought the exposed thing and like literally they couldn't use it because they would fill the meter to full, but then if they get stunned by a pallet, then they literally got to refill the meter again. And like by the time that they could have just hit me with enough knives to down me, they kept on trying to like hit me with the knives and get the hit. It was really bad. So that add-on is not good. That's why a rework on that add-on where like you can just replenish knives instead kind of vibe would be helpful. Or as you build the meter, you get more debuffed by the knives as a result of whatever is going on. Even like mangled hemorrhage, like whatever that it is, it just needs to be like as the meter fills up, you get debuffed harder when the button is pressed by the killer to apply the debuffs. And I feel like you can use that to make him scary, and I feel like it would work. So, but the problem though is that the design of the Trickster in the first place is that the way that he functions as a whole makes it really hard for him to just purely do the thing that he wants to do, where he can essentially be scary in the first place. That's why he's like next to, I think he's actually even worse than Plague. So there he is. Then we got Nemesis. Like Lisa pointing in the knives. Yeah, basically. Like I mean, I think that'd be better than what it is now, because at least you can let him inflict debuffs with the knives, and it will work. But he doesn't have anything like that. Like he only gets like the knives don't do anything except for just build a meter, and like the meter's not being used for anything for the killer to become a stealth killer. But the meter should be used for him to become a stealth killer. It would work that way. But it's alright. That's why he's last. So like fine. Okay. Nemesis now. What do we do with Nemesis? It's actually kind of complicated because you know what actually, I put Nemesis here. I'll tell you why. Because the same problem that the Trapper has is that the Nemesis, here's the problem. As a Resident Evil fan and player who's played the game, the Nemesis is way scarier in the game because he sprints so much faster. Truly, that's what it is. So the fact that the killer runs much slower in this game, it kind of like takes the momentum away because I've played both games. If I never played Resident Evil, then it would be fine. I would use it. He already has an add-on though that lets him kill a zombie to get undetectable. Like he has that already. That already exists. But 15 seconds is the time duration for it, and it's too slow, or it's too low, I would say. 15 seconds is way too low for him to use, but it does exist. So he has that capability. But the thing is that he's so big and stompy, that like you can still see and hear him coming a little bit if it was a thing. So I think the point too, though, to Nemesis is that he's actually conceptually, for me, mentally, he terrifies me because of Resident Evil 3. But in this game, the zombies scare me more than the killer does, which is the same problem that the trapper has. You know, like the traps scare me more than the actual trapper killer does, despite him having no way of like really undetectabling whatever. And the killer and the Nemesis already has a thing where he literally if he hits a zombie with the tentacle, he gains the meter for building the meter more so, and he's undetectable for 15 seconds, which is not bad. So like, you know, I get it. Now I think that the killer needs essentially a way to You know what it should be, actually? There should be an add-on. Not even an add-on. Okay, I figured it out. While he gains the meter for his abilities to do the thing, because right now when you get level 2, you can break pallets and doors with the tentacle, and when you're level 3, the hit of the tentacle goes farther, right? That's all that it does. I would even dare say that, like, if he hits level, there should be, I mean, I want to call it like an add-on change. I feel like that would be okay, where like level 3 changes when certain things happen. So level 2 should always still break the pallets. They shouldn't change that, because if they took that out, then that would literally kill his momentum a lot, and it would be really painful. But when he hits level 3, I think as a guarantee, the zombies are undetectable. So you can't hear the zombies coming. I feel like that would be crazy. And like so wild to deal with. I like that conceptually like a ton. Because like the zombies are scary when you hear them growling at you from because they come from the ground. You know what I mean? They come from the ground, and what's up, souls? They come from the ground, and then they scream at you, and then you either run away or you walk away from them. You know what I mean? But if you hit the zombie, or rather if you get level 3, then the zombies should be undetectable straight up. That way like if you're looking at the killer from a distance kind of vibe and you see it happening, then all of a sudden the zombie just smacks you in the back and you have no clue, because that happens in movies all the time. You know what I mean? Happens in movies all the time. So in this game, if they literally make a zombie undetectable, it would be so freaking fire. So I think I like that conceptually like a ton for Nemesis. I also, this is gonna be me being weird, but I feel like there should be an add-on that essentially lets him you just can't hear him running. His running steps is so loud, you can't hear him running. So it's really bizarre. If you take away his running, he's a big stealthy man. And it would be so crazy. So that's where my mindset is at right now too. So I feel like Nemesis could be scarier if you give him add-ons that allow him to deliberately like either be undetectable more harshly for the survivors, or you give the zombies the ability to be undetectable. But because his only way of being quiet or like undetectable is when he hits a zombie, like it kind of works, but like, it kind of also doesn't work. So it's like weird. So I think Nemesis sits on C tier currently as it is. It's also hard to really give him a really easy way to like, oh, I'm lying to you, actually. I didn't think about the vaccine. The vaccine, there should be an add-on that when you have the vaccine, like if you don't cleanse it, if you don't cleanse the the vaccine, then there should be a thing for that too. Like you should be oblivious and blind the entire time that you're oh no, you know what, actually that already exists, but it's only for a minute, because there's a purple add-on that does that actually. If you get hit by the tentacle and you get contaminated, there's a purple add-on that gives you oblivious, but they should just not make it a 60-second thing. It should be a permanent thing until you cleanse the vaccine. And it shouldn't be just oblivious, it should be oblivious and blindness, and that way you can run that one thing with the undetectable one. Straight up. Honestly, I would even say that there should be a way for the zombie to actually like show the aura of. You should be able to hit the zombie, and if the zombie sees a survivor, their aura gets revealed. That should totally be a thing. So I feel like it'd be more important, because I think it's very important that like everything that is in the game that involves Nemesis is undetectable, period. So he's undetectable and whatnot. The zombies are. You don't hear any of them coming. So that way you got to keep an eye out for essentially 3 silent killers that can get the hit on you. I think that's so important, because like that allows Nemesis for the game to like function a lot better in darker maps. And then that way, like if you run mid-witch with it, like bruh, getting hit by the zombie when you can't hear the zombie coming, that would be the scariest thing on the planet, especially in like RPD. Because if you can combine that with the one iridescent that makes them move faster, bruh, you know how scary as hell a quiet zombie is that moves fast? That sounds some Left 4 Dead nonsense. That would be scary as hell. So that's where my mind sits at with it, 100%. I think Nemesis sits on C tier comfortably though for now, until they give him that power. So, and then we have Cenobite. Now here's the thing with Cenobite. Cenobite, there's already a video out there of me dealing with Cenobite, and he scared the F out of me with Plaything, and he had the thing where I think it's when he like interacts with the box or whatever that it is, he has an undetectable. Like he already has one. So it's actually pretty freaking nutty that that like he has it already. So he actually already has a variety of ways to thrive on the idea of giving people like debuffs and whatnot. So he actually like he has an add-on where essentially he can literally see the box. When he picks up the box, the chains go away, but you can't hear him coming. And it's actually wild how crazy it was. Because the killer used that add-on on Coldwind with Plaything, and I kid you not, dude, that it scared the F out of me because I couldn't ever see where he was coming from. It was wild. So Cenobite actually has very strong potential to be coming from up here. He can even be, honestly, I even put him in A tier with that, because he already has a really easy way to like to do the business. But the problem is that he has to, because you know, like the people can see the box, so when the box gets picked up, the HUD tells you whether or not the killer picked it up or not, which is what's the crazy thing. So because you find out that no one picked up the box and the killer picked it up, and then nothing happens, you find out that he's hiding. So I think it's actually nuts. And 25 seconds is a great amount of time for him to be running around doing what he's doing, and I think that it's going to be so sick. So I think it's actually really, really important that you actually take advantage of that. And there's also a ton of perks that let him use that add-on that lets him run the business. Now, I think as a whole, though, there should be because the thing, I think like if you have the chain hunt activated, then I think that the killer can easily see who is where. So I think that's fine. Like you can still see where the killers or the survivors are if it's active. Which is cool, but there's really not much I would change to him. So, you know, actually what would be cool is if there was an add-on that lets him, because I think that if he tries to use the gateway, I don't know if you can cancel the gateway with the killer. If you can cancel the gateway already with the killer, then they should just use that. But if you can't cancel the gateway, that needs to be an add-on, because if you can cancel the gateway, you can peek in places with the killer, basically get like a third eye. You can cancel it. Okay, so then people need to just use that. So if you can cancel it, then if you can literally be undetectable and you can peek in a room before going in the room and see someone's in there, and then you just pop up on them, that's gonna be so freaking good. So the killer already has the capabilities of being really freaking scary. So it's just a matter of putting it into practice. But I think that people don't really play the killer enough times with that. So I think that's the problem. Because if I think about it right now, you can probably run Insidious with it, get the gateway, peek in rooms, and then just like pop up in rooms where people are hiding or doing gens or whatever that it is. Like RPD with the purple add-on with Insidious together is going to be wild. I can already put it to practice now. So and you can probably really quick, like if you get the box, like you here's the thing, you pick up the box, you activate it, and you peek in rooms, and then you just hit people and you catch them off guard like crazy. So I think that's what people need to start doing with Xenoblade, like low key though. So I would 100% put him in A tier for that purpose alone. The fact that he has an add-on for it and it's a purple add-on is goated. And he has so many other ways to like effectively use the stuff besides like just that one add-on. I don't even know what else he needs, honestly, besides that. Like, you don't really need to use anything besides that add-on. I think that's all he needs, and it's good to go. So there you go, Xenoblade. Okay, now we got Artist. Now Artist is kind of tricky because the Artist has an ability that lets her like pop up crows and you don't see where they're going, and if you get swarmed by a crow, you get oblivious, but you're always supposed to take off the crows the second that the crows are on you, so you kind of sort of have to just deal with it. The killer also has a very good undetectable that when you have no birds to shoot, you're undetectable whenever you can't shoot crows. I think that's sick. So she has a very good add-on that lets her function, but the problem is that I don't think that it's actually good, because I literally think the recovery time for the cooldown to get a bird back, I want to say it's like 10 seconds. So you gotta constantly be throwing up a bird to get a 10-second undetectable, and there's just not enough time for that. So I mean, you can make it work, but you know what the problem is? It's too complicated, because you have to keep on constantly doing stuff to effectively stay undetectable, and there's no way to quietly summon birds. There's a way to quietly show where the birds are going, but there's no way to quietly just put up a bird and then just F off, you know what I mean? Because I think if you have a bird, it's like idle for 10 seconds. It kind of like chills for 10 seconds. But if you have two crows, it's like almost 10 seconds. You could just like, but every other like second though, you gotta basically re-put a crow up. So you spend like, I would say 20% of the time resetting a crow just to keep being undetectable, and it kills her momentum. So I think that the add-on, because it's an iridescent one, they gotta rework that iridescent so that she sends out a crow, but the crow, you know what they should do actually? The crow should just be a sentry turret. So that's what she should do on the low. So what she should do is, the iridescent lets her do this. When she puts down the crow just doesn't ever go anywhere. It just sits there forever until she forms another crow. Straight up. And then if she puts up a crow on one spot, it just sits there. But if people are near the crow will look at them. It'll literally look at them, and if they get too close from it, the crow will attack them and it hits them. Now, I think if they get damaged by the crow instantaneously, that's going to be kind of annoying, because you could put two crows in the same spot and then get like a, you know, it's going to feel like an instant down, but it shouldn't do that. So here's what it should do. If you put a crow up and it's chilling and you get too close to the crow, it starts looking at you. If you get too close to it and it hits you, the crows will swarm on you, but you have to essentially like fend them off. and then when you do that, you get deep wounded. That's what it should do. And then if you try to unmend the wound, then the aura can be revealed while you're trying to take off the wound, because it does sort of give the killer an excuse to shoot you again from a distance while also putting pressure. It's gonna be very powerful, but like it kind of works though. Or it just resets the timer. I feel like downing people from a distance with the artist while making the crows invisible is a little bit complicated though, because you got to remember though, if she puts up a crow again, then the undetectable like goes away. So she's not gonna afford, because she's gonna have 2 crows up, because she can default shoot 3. So if you have the iridescent and she can shoot 2, then in a manner of speaking, she only puts up 2 crows. But if she gets hit by 1, or rather, if a survivor gets hit by 1, the crow still is on the person. She still doesn't generate a crow. The only way that she can essentially generate a crow and hit somebody is if, like, let's say if person 1 gets hit by the crows, and they get too close for it, and they gotta unmend. If another person gets hit by the crows, and they gotta unmend, if person 1 finishes the mend, she gets the crow back. She should be allowed to shoot the second person with the crows and get the hit on them. I feel like that's fine, but because again, it's gonna reset her, like, because then she gets to reset the ability for her to effectively go back into undetectable and get the jump on people. Maybe she shouldn't have, well, because she does. We should take out the aura thing then. That'll be too broken if she can like see auras while she's doing stuff like that. So if you don't fend the birds off, then she can see you. But she can't shoot you if there's a crow somewhere and then another person's like fending off the crows. So we can take out the mending, the deep wound thing, and just make it normal. Because like it's actually worse if you keep on holding on to the crows, because she can see the person in the crows and you don't get a crow again kind of vibe. So I think that's actually better. So TLDR reset, right? She has the iridescent. She can put 1 crow somewhere. She can put another crow somewhere else. Those crows don't go anywhere. If the person gets too close to the crow will look at them, and they get close enough, it'll actually put the swarm on them, and then they gotta take the birds off. As a result, though, the killer has to reset the crow to regain undetectable. But the killer kind of sort of has the instinct of being able to see where the birds are at. But when you start fending off the birds, you can't see them. So you can kind of sort of like, figure it out. So there isn't an aura thing. We'll take out that concept in total, because I feel like the killer, well, actually no, because the killer kind of sort of does need a way to like effectively figure out who's where. So maybe it'll be temporary. It'll be like a 2-second thing instead of it being like a perma thing or crazy like that. Yeah, because I don't want them to necessarily be visually seeable while trying to take off birds, because the killer has to be scary. The killer can't just be undetectable. That wouldn't be fun. Because the killer's gonna keep on running in a straight line, or rather, the survivors will keep on running away while they're being attacked by birds. You're not trying to chase them down. Actually, no, it actually would work, because if you're running, if you're looking behind you and you're trying to swarm away birds and you're running in a straight line and not looking in front of you, you can actually get the jump on people and flank them from the front, and then catch them, or from the side too. Actually, the aura thing does make sense. Okay, so it does make sense. See, I knew this is what I talked about the first time. It makes sense that you put down 2 birds. If you get swarmed by birds while you're running with the birds, you can see the aura of the birds swarming. While you're trying to fend the birds off, I would say there's like a lingering effect on when you can see the aura of the birds coming off. But then once the birds are gone, the birds are gone. And then that way she has to forcibly put up another crow again to regain undetectable, because the second that the birds are done, she loses that status. So she has to put it back up again, and then she goes back into the mode of going invisible. Because it makes more sense for her to just hear people running and breathing, and then she gets a hit on them, because she still has perks she can use to see people. So I don't want her to just have this one iridescent be broken enough as it is. So we'll leave it at that. But with current artist in mind, Granted, I love her a lot. She's easily my favorite killer next to Plague. I'm gonna put her at B. I'm gonna put her somewhere around like here because she has ways to be undetectable. It's a little bit jank, but it surprisingly and effectively enough though it kind of works. I feel like I put her mid. I put her mid B. She's like middle B. So I think that's where she's at. Okay. Now we got Onryo. Now here's the thing. Very similar, okay? Very similar to Myers and Ghostface. Her presence alone is scary AF. Straight up scary. I know people who will literally not fight her in this game because she is who she is. She's just scary as hell visually to look at because she's part of the friggin' Ring franchise. Like the conceptual concept for her is scary enough. So the fact that she just kind of exists as it is crazy. Seeing when the TVs turn on, like if I go into a match and I don't know it's Onryo, and then the TVs turn on, that catches me every single time. If I don't see it, then like I'm kind of if I do see it, I'm kind of chilling because I'm like, okay, I see the TV, I know who it is. So when the TVs do turn on, I'm kind of like, okay, they're on, period. But if I don't know who it is and the TVs turn on, I'm like, oh my god, it's this person. Then I start freaking out about it. So there is that. Now, she does have add-ons, thankfully, that like let her do stuff for undetectable and oblivious, right? She has that green one where like when she's manifesting or whatever, she's undetectable for like 2 seconds, I think it is, which is not bad. When you get the tick for the meter for when they come out of the TV, they get oblivious out of that, which is cool. And it lasts like for I think it's like 10 seconds technically, because it's like when she phases out of it, it's like 3 seconds of the phasing out, and then it lasts like another 7 seconds when the TV gets turned off. So it's I think it's like 10 seconds that like it does that. And then I think that's actually it though. She doesn't really have a lot of add-ons, but she does thankfully have add-ons that like let her be stealthy. But also her power alone lets her be stealthy, which I like actually. So the fact that she can like kind of be invisible and like move about and whatnot, I think it's actually like really sick that she can just do that. It's actually really nice. But also it's terrifying for her to watch her like phase in the area by coming out of a television, because that also like that part sucks, dude. It sucks. So I like that she's invisible when she's like outside of a certain radius of the meter, and she is visible when she's like close, but then when she unmanifests or when she like manifests or whatever, then she's like still like undetectable for like at least like a couple seconds, which is like fine. But there needs to be an add-on, because I'm telling you now for a fact, I know that it doesn't exist, because if it did, people would instantly quit the second that they find out that it was her. I'm so serious. There needs to be an add-on where no matter how close or how far she is near a person, you can't see her. Straight up. You can't see her, period, until she manifests in full, and then she sends you. And even then, you only can hear her coming when you hear her like coming. Like when you hear the like the actual animation sound of her like phasing into existence, that's the only time you know that she's there. So and on top of that too, you can't hear her go through TVs either. Like if she teleports to a television, you can't hear that shit. I think that, and then when she comes out of the TV like that, I think there is one where like she what is it? When she No, actually there isn't anything. There's like an add-on where if she like when she manifests, then she is undetectable for 2 more seconds. but she should be undetectable when she comes out of a television every single time for like 5 or 10 seconds or something of the nature. But you also you can't hear her coming out of TVs. You can't see her when she's invisible until you see her trying to get visible, and then it happens. I think I think there's a way that she's oblivious when she's like, no, there's a power. She has an add-on. Oh, I see that. The problem is that there's too many add-ons that she can use that let her be freaking creepy. So they got to kind of smush a bunch of them together. Because she has a green add-on where if you're near a TV, you're oblivious. I forgot about that one. So if they can combine a bunch of them, there should be an add-on where essentially, while she's invisible, you can't see her no matter where she's at. Only when she starts manifesting. At the same time, when she goes into a TV and comes out of a TV, you can't hear the TV change anything sound-wise. That's the add-on. The other add-on that should be existing is, yeah, when you're near a TV, you're oblivious, and your aura can be seen. They should buff it so that you can see the aura of the person, because it would suck to be able to put oblivious on people near a TV, and then like you get there and then you gotta quickly scan and look and see where you can go. Like I think that, like, because you gotta be smart and know your environment and know the map to figure that out. I feel like if they make it so that you can just see the people that are near a TV because they refuse to just turn that off, give them a reason to run away from the TV as a whole. Because like you get to be stealthily just sneaking all over the place through television and freaking people out. W. So I think like that as a whole, it works the way it does. But that being said, though, the artist lover, Onryo is in a very, very powerful position to exist as she is. And I think she's a little bit. I think there's some biasness here. I think the biasness is that because she's known as like the ring girl, everybody already hates her for being scary through films. So I think effectively, because of her ability and her powers and the add-ons you can build around with her, she's up here. I think people are going to think that she should be A tier, but I think that she kind of gets a little bit of leeway because of how Myers and Ghostface are. Like, if Myers and Ghostface were different killers but they had the same powers, they'd still be up here because of how scary they are. But I think that they're even higher on the tier list just because it's Myers and Ghostface. So I think that with her, she falls in the same line. Now, I think the problem, there is a problem, and there's a caveat to this as well. I don't think people genuinely play her in a way that makes her scary. They use the whole TV the TV teleporting thing that makes it annoying for her, so she can just condemn you to hell. I think that is, that's a playstyle that the playstyle that people play Onryo isn't scary, and that's the issue. If you play Onryo in a way that can make her scary, she's up here. But I think the general populace of players who play her in a certain kind of way put Shubi down here. But I genuinely think that if you want to really fully maximize the potential case of all the things that come into place, she's up there. So that's where I leave her. Her position is definitely argumentative though. Like, I don't want to necessarily like take her away from the position and like say that she doesn't deserve it, but I think that like she just, because she, like, in a realistic manner, she's kind of like Wraith in a lot of ways with the manifesting and the whole teleporting thing. I think she comes up here in S tier. And now we have the Dredge. Now the thing about the Dredge is that the Dredge has literally the #1 power that just needs to exist in the game in general. And I understand that they took that out, which is really obnoxious and kind of unfortunate, and I totally get it. But at the same time, I would strongly encourage the idea that they just make the thing like a thing that can be done by any killer as an offering, period, because I think it just makes sense. The Dredge obviously has the ability to like make the whole area dark, and that literally makes it so unbelievably terrifying, right? Because you can't see in front of you, but you can't see around you, so everything is just scary. I think the problem though is that like the killer doesn't. The killer is, I think, technically. I think if you want to get like super, super, super technical, the killer is in fact like a stealth killer. But like not really. Because you know, they have the thing where they put down the little remnant thing, and then they can teleport between lockers, and then the jump scares for the locker thing is crazy. It's always terrifying when you find out that it's supposed to happen. Even if you put a seal on the locker and the killer goes to that locker and hits it, the sound and the loud sound that it makes as a whole is actually like pretty freaking terrifying as a whole. So like Dredge totally gets credibility for it to a high degree. But I think also though, even still, the fact that the killer has the legitimate power to make the whole freaking area dark, and you can't see anything in front of you is wild to me. The other thing that I'm actually fascinated by is the fact that like while it's dark everywhere, you know, he teleports to lockers faster, and then people that are within a certain range of a locker get like a killer instinct. I like that a lot actually. The other thing that's actually fascinating to me is that he actually has an undetectable status effect during it being super dark the whole time, which honestly though is the caveat to it, because the problem is that granted that you can't see in front of you and he's undetectable, you can still hear him. You can hear him moving about, and also he has the same thing where he has like the ominous terror radius, like Freddy and Huntress have, where like you can't directly see where they are, but you can kind of sort of hear them, despite the fact that you kind of sort of can't see them. Dredge has the same problem. So, and I think that they did that though because it would be a little bit crazy for the killer to just be completely invisible in the dark, despite the fact that they're literally a fucking shadow. So like in some parts I get it, but in a lot of other parts I'm so shocked that they made it so that you can see him in the dark, straight up. So what I would propose is you buff the ability for the undetectable thing to just be fully as it is. You don't hear no screaming. You don't get to see a white aura of the killer. You only get to see a white aura of survivors as a survivor. And you just can't see. You can see the animation of the killer's like corporeal form, sure, but you can't see a white silhouette of the killer during that part. I think that part is like it's not effective. But I think to kind of counterbalance it a little bit so it's not annoying just like sitting in the dark looking at nothing, you at least get to see the darkness like a little bit better. I would say like I think right now, like with the Nightfall in mind, I think that like you can't see further than like I think it's like 16 or 20 meters, something like that. But like you can see a survivor like 50 meters away. So if I'm in an open space and the power is activated, I can see survivors like across records. 100% I can see them across records. But the killer, you can't see it beyond like 20 or 16 meters. It's like something like that. The killer shouldn't be visible, period, with an aura. If the killer is like in a certain range radius, you need to be able to just see the killer and then make a fucking run for it. They should just do that. I feel like if you did that, that would actually work a lot more effective for the killer, to get the jump on people. Because I've never seen the killer get the jump on anybody during the Nightfall version, except for when there's a locker involved. But like that's easy though, so I feel like it doesn't really count in the same regard. So yeah, and the biggest issue I think for the Dredge as a whole is that I think right now he has literally not a single add-on in his kit that allows him to do anything to be undetectable or nothing of the nature. There needs to be an add-on where he can bust out of lockers making no noise. The only way you know that he's coming out of the locker is when you see the ooze coming out of the locker. That's the only way you know. But you shouldn't be able to hear him effectively like busting out of a locker. There should be an add-on for that. There should also be an add-on where when Nightfall finishes, like he's still undetectable for like an additional like 15 seconds. Something small, just like a small change. Or better yet, while he's undetectable, you just can't hear the locker. Something of nature. He needs something that just allows him to be undetectable when the Nightfall isn't happening, and when it's happening, he's completely like invisible. And it would just be scary as it is. So I feel like those are the things that would do that. So I think all in all, like I probably would put Dredge like mid A. I feel like I'd put him up here. It would kind of sort of like make sense to me that he comes up here. It just would. You might put him down here, but I think he just effectively just comes up here because despite everything that he has the only advantage in the entire game that nobody else has, and he literally makes the whole map dark. If there was like a way to effectively have two killers, bro, if you can have two killers running around using the same, like just using their powers individually, you know how dangerous as F it would be to have a Mirror Myers with a Dredge activating Nightfall, bro. I would turn the game off. But that being said, though, his power alone literally does so much that it puts him out of all the other tiers and puts him comfortably in A tier. Not broken tier because he's not invisibly like scary, but he definitely can get the spook on anybody with the lockers and the Nightfall happen. There you go. And then we got Wesker. Now, I'm gonna be very honest with you. Wesker is an effective W in terms of being like a catch you off guard, jump scare, oh my gosh, killer. Now, the problem with the Wesker power as a whole is that the bound thing, you know, like the first one is far, but the second one's even farther, right? Then you get infected, and then you gotta figure out the thing with the can, and then in that whole spiel, I get it. Now, I don't really think that there's any way to effectively like utilize undetectable and oblivious without getting them infected first. So I think that's the issue. But he does have an add-on where if you use the first aid spray, you get oblivious. He also has another add-on where if your meter for the virus gets full, he's undetectable for 20 seconds. I think that's actually so cracked, but I don't really see people like effectively using it and like making it work the way that it could, because I feel like if you're going to try and use those add-ons, it's going to be more complicated to catch people with the, because I think like if in order for Wesker to be really scary, you got to catch people that are oblivious or be undetectable with the power versus running in with a knife hit. Because like, I'll paint you a scenario. Let's say we're in Midwich, second floor, running down the hallway. The killer's undetectable. I got my first hook and he has plaything. Boom, I can't hear him. I can't find my totem. It's in the universe somewhere missing. Can't find it, don't care. Now, let's say I'm running straight and there's a hallway and I make a right is the next hallway. Let's say he's coming from that hallway. If he preps the power and dashes to the corner where I'm running and can dash again, if he's there, if he's like right there and then dashes at me with the second power, I guarantee you that would be the scariest thing in the entire like playstyle of Wesker. 100%. Because I can't hear him coming with the dash attack quick enough for me to figure out from where he's coming from, and the dash is quick. It's not quiet, but it's quick. So I feel like if you do that, it'll work for him very effectively. Now, I think that there should be an add-on, or you make it so that when you're undetectable, you can't hear him dashing, because that'd be even more crazy. So I think all in all, you know, he has ways to effectively apply Oblivious and be undetectable, but the only caveat is is that you can't do it at the base level. You have to like effectively like get them infected first, and that's the issue. So I think that you would put him somewhere here. You could even do low B, but I don't think that Wesker's placed. Well, that's not entirely true. I think I put him at B, because even with the dash attack, you still get the jump. Even if there is no undetectable or oblivious, the jump still catches you off guard, and you're not really ready for it. So there is that. Now, I think all in all, though, Wesker definitely needs an add-on where while he's prepping the bound dash attack, whatever, he's undetectable while it's up, and then when he dashes, the dash is quiet. That's what it would be. I think that's literally like the one power that he really, really needs. Or even you can even add another one that adds more fuel to the flame, where after he finishes the second dash, when he finishes the dash, then he's undetectable for like 20 seconds. Because remember, his whole objective is to like go to people and then catch them and then try to use the power kind of thing. So if he had the ability to dash over there, and then when he like reaches the destination, he goes undetectable, and then you can't hear him, I think that'd be way scarier too. So, but those are the only two things I would think of change-wise that he would need in order to be like a functioning, like, figure it out. So, and then, you know, Wesker short and sweet, because I think it was easy to get to the point. So I think it's pretty sick. And lastly, we have the Knight. Now, I think the Knight low-key has things that allow him to be oblivious, but not undetectable. Actually, that's not true. You know what it is, actually? No, that's not true. He has a green one. The problem with the green one, though, is that the green one, the way that it works is really, really annoying. That's the issue. Because in order for the green one to work, you have to use 3 guards. They need to not catch anyone, and then you get undetected for 25 seconds. So that is such a weird way to make the add-on function. That's what it is. Because the problem is that with the Knight, I feel like it's going to be really hard for him to actually use that ability to be undetectable. Not only because the way that it works is very jank, but also he's a Knight in armor, and the armor clanks really loudly. It's hard. He has the same problem that Nemesis has. Nemesis literally, Nemesis is big and loud when he runs, so Knight has the same problem. So that's pretty much like what it falls into play with, and that's the unfortunate rule behind the whole thing. So I think to effectively put him in a position that makes sense, I'm putting him in C tier. I think that they just need to literally buff the add-ons in a way that whenever he just straight up puts down a guard, he's undetectable, period. Because it's gonna allow him to do 2 things. One, if someone gets caught by a guard, then the guard chases after that person, and then they sound the horn, and then it's whatever, right? He's gone. But depending on which ones he uses, guard wise as well, he's gonna want to try and create a lot of reasoning to use the jailer, since that's the one that like walks around the most, and it kind of allows him to effectively use powers more frequently too, to kind of constantly reset the jailer also. Because, you know, he'll have the Carnifex, like the trail thing will go hit a gen or something, he'll break that, boom. Then he'll have the assassin come out, and then it'll find a person maybe, or go linger, whatever. But when the jailer comes out, he doesn't need the jailer to do anything except for just like lurk and roam around an outer portion of the map, so that the killer can deliberately summon the jailer without it getting caught by anybody or chased by anybody. Because of course, like, if you take the hit from the guard, then the power goes away. So you got to figure out a way to maximize it. And I think the best way to do that is to literally just give the jailer the most time efficiency possible to be running around the map, and then do that. So I think that's pretty much what it boils down to. I don't really know how else though you can use the killer's powers in order to like keep doing stuff. But I think that, like, what am I thinking? I think that there should be another add-on that when you summon the guard to do a task and it hits a thing, you're undetectable until you use another guard. I think that would be another good one too, because that way, like, if you summon the Carnifex to go break a door, you're undetectable until you summon the assassin, and then if you summon the assassin and they kick a gen, you get it again. But that way, you know, it kind of forces you to like not use your guards so effectively, because people are going to try to avoid the guards all the time. So if you mind game them by not using the guards and doing the thing, I feel like that's going to make it a lot more hectic for them. So I feel like it's just going to work and make sense in that way, shape, and form too. So I think it'd be pretty sick. So here you have it. We're at the final. That was like almost 4 hours long, honestly. That was kind of crazy, actually. But yeah, so this is, in summary, the tier list, by opinion, in fairness, based on how scary the killer can be with the current build that exists in the game today. This is not creating a theoretical on how killers can be scary. We kind of use that as like an additional caveat, but this tier list is an example of how scary are the killers in game with the current kit that they have, add-ons that they can use, and perks that they can use to make it a much more effective horror game, if you will. I think that's the idea. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that, and I think it'd be really sick to kind of get another one of these updated in the future. Hopefully if the killers like change in some way, shape, and form, like add-on wise or whatever, or when we get the next killer next month, we'll probably like kind of quickly figure out a place for them in this tier list too, and then we'll totally get it up and running again. So I think that this was a lot of fun, and I thought it was sick. So there you go. This is the scary tier list.